Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names of kicking candy ass, live in a living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight we go out to the ball game. Yes, ladies and gents, tonight it's our top 10 baseball movies countdown. I'm super excited here tonight. This is something I never thought I'd do, and honestly, it's through a lot of the I don't know how to put this. Like a lot of the people suggesting that I get away from horror every now and again just to keep things fresh. And this was a opportunity I had to do that since it's the heart of baseball season. It's my favorite sport. And I said, you know, what's a lot of fucking good baseball movies out there. Why don't I sit down and make a list of my top 10 favorite baseball movies? And this was a tough list to make. There was about 22 movies that, of course the 10 that made it, but there's about 22 movies that were thought of, like that's crazy that I went through that many to think about and then ultimately consider or not consider for this list. So if your favorite does not make this list, don't think I didn't take it into consideration. If it doesn't make this list, you can feel free to mention it down here. Of course, we're going to count up from 10 to 1, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But we've got people in the house. We got Slasher Fred. Take me out to the ball game. Hell yeah, man. He said it's for forever. Squints Palidorus, let's go, man. Robert Simeone, welcome, my friend. Sean Blue Digital, hey, love the topic for tonight. Hell yeah, man. I'm excited to get into this. How are you, buddy? By the way, I had a tough week. My program rejected me. Oh, gosh, that's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Well, hopefully this stream can cheer you up. I hope we can do that for you tonight. But I guess before we get into it, I might as well discuss a little bit of my baseball background because it happens to be my favorite sport, and it happens to be, something that's been very prevalent in my life. Of course, I played baseball, not the greatest player in the world, but I did play. I coached, actually. I won't show the plaque as kids and stuff that I coached on it, but we were coaches for Little League, and we won a World Series. I have the plaque still this day up on the wall. There's even says it says like my name on it. It's like senior champion, and has my name as the coach, which is pretty cool. I'm a lifelong, of course, one of God's most pathetic creatures. I'm a Mets fan. A lot of pain, 26 years of being a Mets fan. They have not won a title in my lifetime, and I don't think they're going to as of right now. I know this was the year. Isn't always the year? Yeah, no, exactly. This was supposed to be the year. We had the biggest payroll in baseball, and we are the worst team money can buy. $400+ million in payroll, and they're 5 games under 500, so it's quite devastating. But I got a cool thing to show off here just to show how big of a Mets fan I am. This is my best friend gave me this, my good friend JP. This is, of course, a signed autographed baseball. I don't know if anybody remembers this guy. He's still apparently playing in AAA in the Angels system, so I'm stoked about that because I loved the player. But this is a signed Daniel Murphy New York Mets baseball that my best friend got me, JP. Daniel Murphy, number 28. As a kid, he was one of my favorite players ever. I mean, I loved Daniel Murphy. I just loved he was a rookie right around the time I started watching. Like 2008 is really when I became a big fan. And Murphy was, the rookie that year for us. And he was coming up through the ranks. And I just fell in love with him over the years. I was like, I love this kid. Like there's something about him I loved. They put him in left field. They tried him in second base. He was always kind of clumsy in the field and wild on the base paths. But then, of course, it all culminated in 2015 when, he helped the Mets and led them to a World Series appearance, which I also went to with JP. We went to the game, and it was on Halloween night, Game 4 of the World Series on Halloween night, which I have a picture of. I guess I could pull it up. I'll pull it up so you guys could see, because that was a magical night. That was one of the coolest nights ever, was going to the World Series game. I mean, it was just surreal. Because it's something I never thought I'd do. Like I went to a WrestleMania and I thought that was cool, but man, the World Series was just something else as well. I mean, it was just such a unique experience and something, again, that I never thought I would get the chance to do. I've still yet to go to a Super Bowl, which that one's never going to happen unless you know somebody, because it's about $4,000, man. But this was me and JP at the World Series in 2015. That's us. I'm dressed as Thor. That was his real hair. Of course, that's not my real blonde hair. I'm not really a blonde hair person, but yeah, no, the only difficulty of doing this is the camera gets all fucked up from it. So I'll try to fix it. And I did. So World Series was a lot of fun. We didn't win. We didn't get the W, but it was a really cool experience to go. I have a ton of Mets VHS tapes over there. I don't want to pull them all out and bore you guys, but yeah, I grew up watching those VHS tapes to learn the history. And it was just so cool for me to learn more and more and more about the Mets history. And I have a bunch of Mets collectibles, stuff like that. They're my favorite. Baseball is my favorite sport. They're my favorite team. So I just figured I'd mention a little bit of these things. Bummer, Anthony, hang in there, bro. Absolutely, man. I'm sorry to hear all that. I played baseball until I was 13, gave it up to folks more in ice hockey, and played hockey until I was 25. That's awesome, man. I know you're a big Phillies guy, and I'm assuming you're a big Flyers guy, right? I don't watch hockey at all, so that's one sport where you would totally, like, I don't know a thing. John Pernis here, that's JP's brother, Murph. Gotta love Murph, man. Man, I haven't seen a Mets World Series win in my 26 years, but 2015 was great. Oh, man, that was the best year of being a fucking Mets fan for me. That was just, it was so, they were the little team that could, you know, the 5 days in Flushing and the, you know, Cespedes trade and the Wilmer Flores incident where they had traded him and then they didn't trade him because of a failed physical from, I think it was Carlos Gomez, who was, of course, previously a Met that they had let go. And then, of course, you know, Flores hits that ball over the wall against the Nationals and they go on that magical run and almost pulled the damn thing off. You know, it was a magical year. It was really the best, definitely the best year I ever had as a Mets fan. Daniel Murphy was a great hitter. Love Dan Murphy. He's still in AAA. I think he's in AAA for the Angels, which, I mean, they should call him up. Why the hell not? That'd be a lot of fun. You went to the game where Murphy sank my heart. That's right. Murphy made the error in Game 4, and it cost him the game. It was brutal. Mernsey is here. Batter up. What's up, Graveyard fam? Let's play ball. Hell yeah, man. Top 10 baseball movies tonight. Yeah, no, that was a fun night. That was such a fun night. I remember, I mean, I've gone up to Mets games 100 times. Hell, it was there last night. Me and the old man went to a game last night. And Justin Verlander got a win. I know. It was shocking. He went 8 innings, too. I couldn't believe that shit. Only been paid $43 million a year, but who's counting? More than the entire Oakland A's, more than the fucking, I don't know. I don't care to fucking, it's bad. All I know is they're bad. You know, that's all you got to fucking say. But it was so surreal to me. I remember when I going up the escalators, I'd gone 100 times before, and getting to the top and being like, this is it. Like, you're at the World fucking Series right now. We were in right field. Conforto hit 2 homers, right, one over our head, one to the right of us. But unfortunately it wasn't enough. But man, you know, moment that I'll remember forever. Let's see. Trenchy's here. Angels in the outfield, Sandlot, and Rookie of the Year better be on the list. Well, I got one of them right here on VHS tape. No case, but yeah, this is the Sandlot, how I watched the Sandlot growing up. So welcome, Trenchy. Hope all's well with you. Go Jays, go. Hell yeah, you got to represent Canada, eh? I know Mateo's not here, but he's a diehard Jays guy too. We were talking when Mets played the Jays, and the Jays humiliated the Mets, of course. Welcome, James. Abernathy's here. Baseball isn't really a thing here in the UK, but it's something we immediately associate with American culture. Yeah, no, to me, a lot of people always say, oh, it's a national pastime. Yeah, granted, by me, it's not as popular as it is maybe in other places. But here, it was always hockey. Like, hockey is huge where I'm from. It's hockey, then probably football, then probably baseball, then basketball, because the Knicks have never been worth a shit in my entire lifetime. I mean, maybe 2-3 seasons where they had a run, you know. I think this past year was the furthest they've ever gone in the playoffs in my lifetime. And they got to the second round. So, you know, the Knicks definitely not where it's at. And I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if anyone here has been to Madison Square Garden or not. Madison Square Garden is the world's most famous arena. It's not all that. It is a shithole, but it's our shithole, man. They redid it and everything, but it used to have shit stains on the walls. It really, you know, like I remember when the first time I went, I was so excited. I was like, that's it. Like, I expected grandeur, and I got a fucking shithole. So, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, Flyers, Phillies, Sixers, and Eagles are my teams, and I keep it real. Hell yeah, man. Granted, the Phillies, they made my childhood hard. The 2007, 2008, 2009, those Philly teams with Ryan Howard and Chase Utley and Cole Hamels and Brad Lidge and fucking I don't know if you love him, Sean, but I hated this guy, Shane Victorino. Oh, my God. I remember there was a game where a fan threw nachos at Shane Victorino, and I was like, not that I'd ever do that, but God damn it, I hated Shane Victorino. That guy, the flying Hawaiian. He just got underneath my skin. And, of course, Chase Utley and Jason Worth. I remember when we used to go to Mets games, we go in the outfield and we chant, worthless. We'd yell worthless at him, you know. I always thought he looked like Edge. I don't know if anyone watched pro wrestling here, but Jason Worth, he looks like Edge. Man, those Phillies teams, they ruined some of my childhood, some of the prime years of my childhood. humiliated the Mets years in and years out. So, I mean, yeah, Phillies is rough. The rest of them I can deal with, granted, because I'm only football I watch. I love football. The other two sports, very, if the Knicks are good. Ciao, Grande and friends. I just came to say hi. I'm not into baseball or baseball movies, but I know you'll hit a home run like you always do with your reviews. Miss C, thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping by. Robert says, Damon was playing for the Ducks. So he was playing for the Ducks, and then the Angel, he was doing so well, the Angels signed him to a minor league contract. So he's in the AAA Angels farm system now, which is so surreal. Let's see. Seen a few baseball movies, mostly Saturday afternoon family movies. Okay, fair enough. People saying hi to one another. We got Mayan in the house. Mayan, welcome, my friend. Mayan is here. Hi, everyone. The only sports I'm into is basketball and WWE. I used to love WWE, but I like films about all types of sports. Well, we're going to talk about a bunch tonight, so I'm super excited. Those prime Philly teams. Yeah, me too. Me too, completely. They were, and they added Holiday to those teams. I mean, they were just a machine. I'm surprised they didn't win more titles. I really am. Bye, everyone. About to watch all 4 Psycho movies. Well, hell yeah, that's a fun night. Edge is my all-time favorite wrestler. I mean, you got to love Edge. Hello. Hey, Mr. Grande. T is here. Terry is here. Welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. All right. We're getting into the son of a bitch. We've got 10 movies, and we've got 0 regrets tonight on Grande's Graveyard. First up out of the chute, coming in at number 10. This was actually the hardest spot on the list because there were so many movies I had considered for this one spot. And I ended up going with this movie because I do think this is not only a fan favorite or anything like that, but this is a movie that a lot of people, it was like a surprise hit when it came out. Not a lot of people were thinking a small movie like this was going to just breed such a big fan base. And to the extent where the major leagues themselves, just a couple of years ago with the Yankees and the White Sox, recreated a game in the image of this movie. And I'm, of course, talking to you guys about none other than Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams. Yes, Field of Dreams. Brief plot synopsis for you. Iowa farmer Ray Kinsella is inspired by a voice he cannot ignore to pursue a dream he can hardly believe. Supported by his wife, Ray begins the quest by turning his ordinary cornfield into a place where dreams can truly come true. Yes, Field of Dreams. Now, this was tough. I will be honest. There were a few other movies I did consider for this spot, but I went with this one honestly for the fantastical element of it. This is the closest thing to a fantasy baseball movie that you're going to get. Of course, you have Kevin Costner in the lead, and he's been in a ton of baseball movies, whether it be Bull Durham, whether it be, I think, For the Love of the Game, and this is probably the best one of those 3, in my opinion. It's that or Bull Durham. I really like both those movies a lot. But this particular one, I just always loved the fantasy element of it. Of course, he plays this Iowa farmer who he's one day out in his cornfield and he starts to hear voices. If you build it, he will come. Of course, Slasher Freddy beat me to it. If you build it, he will come. And build what? Who are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's trying to figure out what they're talking about. And of course, they're telling him to build a baseball field. They want him to build a baseball field, and he does. And then, of course, Ray Liotta shows up as Shoeless Joe Jackson, and he starts pitching to him. And listen, there's more of us. You got to go out there and keep listening to the voice. And of course, the thing kind of, as it goes on, more and more voices telling him to do more and more things. And of course, James Earl Jones comes into the picture, who I just love in this movie. And this will not be the last James Earl Jones movie you'll see on this list. But, I love the fantastical element of it. And it's one of those movies where it just has a really nice heart to it. It has a really nice magic in the air of this particular movie. That's just the one thing with Field of Dreams that I always really liked. It almost feels like something that Frank Capra would have done. Like, it's just a very old school feeling movie where Kevin Costner believes, and he knows it's crazy, he knows it's ridiculous, and so does his wife. And his wife is actually, I wanted to get her name because this is the same year as Uncle Buck, and she's the actress from Uncle Buck. Whereas Amy Madigan, who plays his wife in this movie, she's of course in Uncle Buck as the girlfriend in it. She's in The Dark Half, of course, the Romero film. Love her in that movie. I think she's a great actress, and she's supporting him every single step of the way, even though, they're in financial strengths because of this, and they're losing money because they're not selling as many crops because he decided to build this fucking baseball field. But she supports him every step of the way because he knows that it's one thing to be financially sound, but it's another thing to believe, embrace, and live your dreams. And it has a very nice heart when it comes to he and his father. There's this whole backstory between the two, and it kind of all builds slowly but surely to the finale where he asks, why am I doing this? I never once asked what was in it for me. And of course, you get to find out that, yeah, it is so he can embrace and have, one last catch with his dad, because, he didn't enjoy him as much as he could have when he was alive. And I thought it was just a really beautiful movie. It was a movie that nobody expected to be a big hit at the time, and just completely turned a lot of heads and made a ton of money. I mean, this movie was not made for a ginormous budget, but it made tons and tons of money. And man, I think Fields of Dreams is just one of the better baseball movies out there. I couldn't leave it off the list. Granted, there was a couple that I was considering knocking off for it, but man, I had to go with Field of Dreams coming at number 10. So let's see what people say. One of the most famous baseball musicals is Damn Yankees. Well, I promise that's not on here. If you build it, they will come. I've seen parts of Field of Dreams. Got to see the whole thing. It's a really nice movie, man. It's a really, really solid film. Got to be honest, I thought this one was going to be higher. I mean, it almost missed the list, which is crazy. Like, for a while it didn't make it. Like, I was sitting there, I'm like, man, I don't know, Bull Durham or this, and there was a ton of movies that were considered for this, so this was tough. Subjective Perspective Collective, Dirk is here. Welcome, my good brother. Hey, brother, can't stay. Just had to stop and show my support. Dirk, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that as always, my friend. Oh, that's classic. Look at that movie poster. So nostalgic. Yeah, no, you got to love that poster. That is so cool. And I thought it was surreal when the Yankees and the White Sox actually played the Field of Dreams game. I don't know if anybody watched it, but it was so surreal. Like, it was one of the coolest baseball. Like, I know in hockey they do the Winter Classic, and that's always fantastic when they do that. Even I'll watch that. I'm not even a hockey fan. I'll watch the Winter Classic. This particular thing was so cool, though. I hope they do it again, as the players came out of the cornfield and played. And it was a wild ninth inning where, of course, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, all these guys were hitting home runs. And, of course, Tim Anderson with Oppo Taco to win it. The ball was really blowing out to right field that night. It was just such a fun baseball game to watch. It almost felt like someone had scripted it. It just felt mystical. It felt so amazing. I mean, I loved that game. That was such a cool baseball game, in my opinion. Let's see. Angels in the Outfield also has a fantasy element. Believe it or not, that was one that I wanted to make this list so badly, but no, it did not make the list. Angels in the Outfield was close, though. See that? If this had missed, Angels in the Outfield might have been the next one on. Like, there were a few that I was like, oh, man, I wish, I think this movie is really about family reunion. It really is exactly what it's about. It's a way to integrate the game and feelings. Like, they also have the one player that I played one inning as a defensive replacement. I never had an at bat, and he went on to leave the game, and he became a doctor, and he has this whole kind of run-in with him where Kevin Costner goes back in time, and it's the early 1970s. That's a surreal moment. There's the fun sequence where he goes with James Earl Jones to the ballpark, and what do you want? Oh, out of life? What do I want? No. What do you want to eat? No. Oh, okay. I'll take a Frank and a beer. I love that. I think that was so fun of the two of them. And Kevin Costner was just great in this. He really makes you believe in his dream. Hey, Soulless Trenchcoat, really dig the name. Yeah, thanks, Subjective. Your name's cool, too. Heart and Magic are a great word to describe the film. Great feel-good factor. A lot of subtle but great performances. Yeah, no, like, I think Amy Madigan doesn't get enough credit, man. She's great. And May Ray Liotta, rest in peace. Like, I actually watched this just a couple nights ago, and, man, I got sad when I saw Ray Liotta. I was like, man, Ray Liotta's gone. It just doesn't even feel like it. It's just sad when he popped out of the cornfield, and they're like, oh, Shoeless Joe. And I'm like, man, he's gone in real life now. Like, that is so damn sad, in my opinion, man. So rest in peace, Ray Liotta. I'm here for Major League. Well, spoiler alert, Major League's on the list, and it's a lot higher. So gotta love it. Hey, ATG Nat Podcast. Thanks, Solus. Thanks, y'all. Take care. Awesome. Haven't seen this movie in a long time. I recommend it. I highly recommend it. I believe it's on Peacock if you don't have it. It's a damn good baseball movie, in my opinion. One that I really, really enjoy. But this next one, people are going to think I'm fucking crazy. This next one, I think I'm going to lose a lot of respect. I may lose a lot of listeners. People are probably going to turn this off. I can't believe it myself. If it's any consolation, I can't believe this movie made it myself. So if there's any unbiased here, I promise you it's here, because I'm being completely honest. I couldn't believe when I made the list, but I was like, I can't keep this movie off the list. And I don't know. A lot of people probably think I'm crazy, but this is the film from, of course, 2004. This is a Farrelly Brother film that a lot of people forgot about. Of course, everyone remembers Dumb and Dumber. Everybody remembers, of course, Kingpin. But not a lot of people remember this one from, 2005. This is Fever Pitch. Yes, Fever Pitch. Lindsay is stuck in the middle of her relationship with Ben and his passion for the Boston Red Sox. Yes, Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, Jimmy Fallon. Drew Barrymore. Two actors that I'm like, really? In Fever Pitch. I love this movie. I've always loved this movie. I think this is a great, 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 romantic comedy love story baseball movie, which I always really like. And I really couldn't believe how much I like Jimmy Fallon in, because in real life, Jimmy Fallon's for the birds. I mean, his late night show, he sucks. I think his personality, like, he's just a very phony guy. I never really liked Jimmy Fallon. So when I saw this, I'm thinking, oh, you're gonna hate it. I mean, I thought I would hate it as much as I hated Taxi with Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah, if people remember that movie. This was right around the time they were trying to make Jimmy Fallon a movie star, and it didn't work. But this is a good movie, in my opinion. Of course, Jimmy Fallon plays this diehard Boston Red Sox fan whose uncle died and gave him season tickets for the Red Sox games for the rest of his life. And, he has his whole regular crew, which are all like Fairly Brother, regulars. You've seen all these people in other Fairly Brother films, whether it be, like I said, Dumb and Dumber or Kingpin or, any of the other standard Fairly Brother movies. But, they're in this, and he's like this diehard fan. He meets Drew Barrymore. The two of them fall in love. And, of course, his love for the team starts getting in the way with their relationship. And I don't know. I really enjoy this movie. Of course, it takes place during the season where the Red Sox broke their, big curse of 84 years, I believe it was, or it might have even been 86 years. I think it was 86-year curse where they had not won the World Series, the curse of the Bambino in 1918, where their pig, selfish boss sold Babe Ruth, to endorse a Broadway play. And then, of course, the Red Sox had never won a world championship, where the Yankees had won 26 at this point, 27 now. And of course, it's kind of that. And then meanwhile, you have this nice little love story between Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon. And I think it really works for Jimmy Fallon. Like, I think Jimmy Fallon's really good in the movie. And I see G Nat saying, pretty sure they filmed scenes on the field after. They did. And they also did actual shooting in Fenway Park, which must have been really tough to do. But you could see, man, the Fenway Park, all this stuff was shot in Fenway. They had used real players. Like I see Robert saying, yeah, that's true. Johnny Damon is in it playing himself. You see, stock footage of Ortiz hitting homers and stuff like that. And, the famous inning where they beat Rivera. You have all that stuff in there as archival footage. But I think it's really cool. Like, first of all, I love Jimmy Fallon when he's doing the whole drafting. Like, he has all his friends over, and he's like, all right, who's coming with me to the Royals series? And they're all like, nah. All I asked for the first Yankee game. He's like, you want Yankees tickets? You want to talk Yankees tickets? He goes, you're going to have to start dancing for Yankees tickets. And they all start dancing to this dance off to try to go to the Red Sox Yankees games. And or you're not going to dance? All right, have fun with the Devil Rays. I think Jimmy Fallon's just a lot of fun in this. And will you go to opening day with me? And he opens it up, and it's the 2 tickets, and sending you a bunch of roses. And instead of roses, it's Pete Rose's face. And he's just like the ultimate nerdy baseball fan. There's even the scene where she sees him on TV, and he's on ESPN. He's in spring training, and they're like, sir, what are the most important things in life to you? He goes, I go Red Sox, sex, and breathing. And they all cheering him on. And she's like, she's eating at home. She's like, oh my God, I'm dating a psychopath, and he has to decide, what does he love more, the Red Sox or her? And this is kind of this whole dilemma. And I don't know, I really liked this movie. I know it's maybe not the funniest movie in the world. While there is funny things in it, like there's a scene where Drew Barrymore, she's fucking around on her laptop because she doesn't care about the game, and she gets hit with a foul ball from fucking David Ortiz. She gets cracked in the head, and it's this giant fucking thing. And I thought that scene was really funny. There's a couple laughs in here for sure, but it's definitely more of like a love story. And I thought it had a nice kind of chemistry to it. I think Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon worked well enough together, which was surprising because, again, I'm not big on either of them, but it really worked. I mean, I think this was around the time she was married to Tom Green for 5 minutes. This might have been around that time where it was like, what the fuck? I always imagine if this had a Tom Green instead, it would have been terrible. Like, Jimmy Fallon did a much better job than Tom Green ever would have. And I don't know. I always kind of like this one too. This is one that's a guilty pleasure, but I thought it had to make this list here. Let's see. Hold on. I missed some comments. Let's see. I think we were here. Great soundtrack. Absolutely. Yeah, you have Tessie. You have some really, really good songs in this one. The next movie we're talking about has a great soundtrack as well. THC, Texas is here. Welcome. Sorry, I'm late, brother. Dude, Absolutely no problem, man. Happy to have you here. Jimmy Fallon is a Red Sox fan. Yep, that's true. It's a good baseball movie. I think so too. Honestly think it deserved to make it. I always kind of liked this movie. Always had a soft spot for it. Never heard of this. I think it's a good one, man. And if you like the Fairley Brothers, I think it's right up your alley. Can't stand Jimmy Fallon either. I think the fact that the Red Sox won the World Series around this time made the movie so much better. Well, yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, they all based it all around the real life thing that, they broke the curse. And then this, I guess it's sort of insinuating their love broke the curse, because there's a whole thing where towards the end, he's going to sell his tickets in order to be with her because she feels he puts them over her. Like, she asked him to go to Paris and he goes, well, I can't leave them right now. This is when they need me most. They're in a pennant chase. He won't miss a game. He can't do it, even though she's, there's a point where you think she might be pregnant. She wants them to go to Paris with her, all of these things. And he wants to go watch the game. He can't grow up. He can't grow out of that little kid that, we're introduced to at the beginning of the movie. And it's this whole arc that he has to decide, do I love this girl enough to give up what I love in the Boston Red Sox? And I thought that was an interesting kind of dynamic to have here. I thought it was quite well done. And trust me, the actors involved, I wouldn't ever think they'd do that good of a job, but I do think they did a really good job, and Jimmy Fallon especially. One of the Fairley Brothers movies in the 90s is Basketball, where the two guys, Basketball, that's right. Was that a Fairley Brothers movie? I thought that was fucking Trey Parker, and I thought that was the South Park guys. Johnny Damon is it? That's right. Pretty sure they filmed scenes that's right. Yep. One of the Fairley Brothers movies. Okay. Yeah, I just read that one. Is The Natural on the list? That Natural did not make it. I like that movie, but no, didn't make it. Basketball. Yes. Slasher. That's the Trey Park. That was okay. That's right. I thought so. Haven't seen Fever Pitch. Remember when it came out? I think it's a good movie. Almost 20 years old. It's crazy. They won a World Series in 2004 before this movie came out. Yeah, that's right. That was the whole basis. It was like, they broke the curse because of that or whatever the hell. Italian Goodfellas is in the house. Welcome, good brother. Sandlot's the best. Okay, Sandlot's on the list. I promise you. Mernsey, I absolutely love Basketball. The owner in the beginning voiced Mermaid Man on SpongeBob. Oh, yeah, it's Ernest Borgnine. That's right. I went to Fenway Park back in 2019 for 2 games. I've been to some other decent ballparks in the past, too. I went to PNC this year, which was a lot of fun. The Mets are in Fenway tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, which would be cool to go. I've never done. I know John Perna has been to, I think, like 29 of the 30 ballparks, which is really cool. So you're talking about the worst movie I don't like talking about, 04 Grande. Oh, well, yeah, you're a Yankees fan. That makes sense. Nacho, does Blood Games count? Oh, my God. I know. I think Mernsey loves Blood Games. It's on my watch list. I have to see that movie because if I watch it now and then it would have made the list, I'm going to be like heartbroken about it because I've heard Blood Games is really cool. There is a female baseball movie on the list, though, so I promise you. But Fever Pitch, I highly recommend. I like this movie. Always did. Never, ever got the hate. I mean, a lot of people fucking hate it. But I mean, it is what it is. LOL, Blood Games should count. And I forget about that movie. They're playing a game in the yeah, that's right. I'm not a baseball fan at all, but I love baseball movies. Bad News Bears is my all-time favorite. Alpha. Well, if you don't like baseball movies, you're going to love this next one. I know for a fact you're going to love this next one because it almost feels like a Romero film in and of itself. So stay tuned. OMG Blood Games would have been number 1. I should have watched. I fucking didn't get a chance. There was a baseball movie called For the Love of the Game. That's right. That was the other Kevin Costner movie. There's also like Cobb with Tommy Lee Jones. That I don't like. I can tell you some of the ones that did. The Babe with John Goodman. I think John Goodman is great. I think the movie around him is awful. And I don't like how they portrayed Babe Ruth. I mean, they just had you think that he was a fat drunk. Like, that was really all that movie gave you about Babe Ruth. Like, it really wasn't enough about the good parts of his life. It reminded me a lot of Wired, which was the John Belushi biopic they had made in the 1980s, I think, with Michael Chiklis playing John Belushi. And that's all the movie was. It was just John Belushi was bad. He did drugs. Like, that was the only thing they had to say. Like, wasn't, John Belushi entertained millions. And John Belushi was one of the greatest performers of all time. And John Belushi, like, they didn't give you enough of why the guy was great. And I felt The Babe was another movie that really suffered from that. Those are two biopics that they portray the person in biography like just in too negative of a light for you to watch. I am the Ice Orders here. Ciao Grande. Hell yeah, Sean. Love Blood Games. The only one I feel is Field of Dreams. Well, I just talked about that. But coming in at number 8, this has got to be one of the most underrated ones on here. And I'm a diehard horror fan, so we had to have a horror baseball movie make it. And this is from the year 2012. Cannot believe this movie is 11 years old because I saw it when it came out and I absolutely fell in love with it then. Still love it now. This is Jeremy Gardner's The Battery. Yes, The Battery. The personalities of two former baseball players clash as they traverse the rural backroads of a post-plague New England teeming against the undead. Yes, The Battery. I don't know if Alpha's here, but if you want to see a movie that was very similarly made in the heart, spirit, low budget nature of a Romero film, zombie movie wise, watch The Battery. This is a fucking great movie, in my opinion. Of course, it tells the story of these two minor league players that were playing baseball up in Pittsfield. Of course, Jeremy Garner's character is the catcher. And then, of course, I think Adam Kronheim is his name. I want to get his name right here. It's Adam. Yeah, Adam Kronheim is, of course, Mickey, who he was the pitcher, and they were together a battery, even though they never really were friends on the baseball field. It's the zombie apocalypse. All of their friends and families have been taken out, and of course, they're left with one another to fight off the undead and try to work together through this in vain, like a battery. Of course, if people are not familiar with the term battery, a battery is a pitcher and a catcher. That's what their tandem is called. They're battery mates. They are a team, right? They're calling a game together. The catcher calls the fastball away, and the pitcher has to execute it there. That's what a battery is. And then you have this movie here with all sorts of different elements. You have drama elements. You have horror elements with the whole zombies in the background type of deal. And I think in a lot of ways, this is also a movie about friendship. It's a movie about friendship between two guys that in any other situation probably would never be with each other. But man, I really enjoy how this thing plays out. Of course, you have a lot of scenes where they're going around collecting food, collecting water, encountering the undead. They'll have a lot of scenes of just dialogue between the two of them back and forth. And I just love some of the dialogue in this. I think it's just so well written, man. It really reminds me of a Romero film, of how it's approached and how it's executed, because this was a movie made for a budget of $6,000. Jeremy Garner got 10 of his friends that throw $600 each. He made it for $6,000. And it is amazing looking. The soundtrack is incredible. Ain't no grave, hold my body down. Amazing music in this movie. We got a lot to be glad for. Such great music in this thing, man. I can't even tell you. There's a lot of fun scenes where the two of them are playing catch and, hey, man, don't be down. It's not like it's the end of the world. Oh, wait, it is the end of the world. And there's some really fun montages where they're out and about and they find an apple field. And they decide, hey, let's hit a couple. So they're pitching and throwing apples and busting the guts out of the apples and stuff like that and pretending like it's game situation and stuff like that. Just a lot of fun. And then, of course, the whole thing culminates where the two of them get trapped in the car. They get trapped in a car, and the zombies are, of course, in Romero's movies, it would be a farmhouse. It'll be a mall. It'll be an underground bunker, of course. In this movie, they get trapped in the tiny space of a confined car. And they're like trapped inside, and they start to have to play games to entertain themselves. And I'm trapped in a fucking car and I want an apple. And then, of course, the next person is, I'm trapped in a fucking car. I want an apple and a brownie. And they all have to go by alphabetical. Like they have to keep adding a word with a different letter. And oh my God, shit is so funny. They're throwing cards into the catcher's mitts, and they at one point even start, homaging Jaws. Show me the way to go home. I thought that was really great. They get shit-faced together. And, hey, man, tomorrow we die. And they kind of embrace hands, and they start laughing. Like, why not? Like, we're going to fucking die tomorrow. Let's laugh. Let's smile. Great stuff. To me, everything that baseball is about. That's the thing with myself. I learned a valuable lesson of camaraderie through baseball. And I always thank my parents for making me play it for that, right? Like it helped me be social. It helped me get out there and meet people. Was I the greatest player in the world? No, I wasn't. I really wasn't the greatest player in the world. But I met so many wonderful people through it. I met so many different personalities through it. And this movie kind of takes me back there a little bit. It makes you realize that, yeah, you know what? You may not be the greatest. You may not always like your teammates, but hell, you got to work together if you want a positive outcome. And this movie does that. I think this is such a fucking good movie. Always love this thing. Shout Factory, I think, put this out. I have the DVD. You can also pick it up on Blu-ray. I think it's one you could probably find on Tubi or something for free. Amazing soundtrack, amazing energy to it, and considering how low budget it is, it's amazing how much they were able to pull off. And like I said, it has just such a well-rounded movie. It just has a little bit of everything, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of drama, a little bit of friendship, and that friendship really shines bright here. I love the performances from Jeremy Garner and Adam Kronheim respectively. They've been working on movies together since this. Of course, I think The Leech was Jeremy Gardner. They did Tex Montana Will Survive, bunch of movies they've done together. But this one remains my favorite. To me, everything a modern day zombie movie should be, because again, it's not like your splat stick zombie movie that generally comes out today. It's not like whatever the fucking one was with like Selena Gomez and fucking Adam Driver, The Dead Don't Die, something like that. Like, it's nothing like that. This is a very much more like the zombies are in the background, like a Romero film, and the issues are between our two leads. They have to get together in order to survive the zombies out there, which is old school Romero 101. And I think this is a great movie. I highly recommend The Battery if you have not seen it. One of the best movies I've seen about friendship. Love this movie. Highly recommend. So there had to be a little bit of fucking horror on this list, because this one's a banger. A lot of people have not seen it. I highly recommend. I understand it. It happens. I'm the Ice Lord. Let's see. Hey, Good Flows. What's up, Alpha? I've never seen it. Well, man, I think you should. I think you'd absolutely love it, man. Bull Durham did not make it, and it was close. Another one that was very close. Mr. 3000 is another one I really like. Sean, yeah, those girls kick ass. Oh my gosh, you guys are making me. I have to see that now. I totally have to see that now. Never heard of this one either, but it sounds interesting. I think you'd love it. I think you especially would appreciate this movie. There was a scary story to tell in the dark, a baseball story called The Bad News. Well, we might just be getting to some bad news coming up. The Battery is a part of this. Yes, that's right. Never heard of this one. Sounds interesting. Is it gory? It's not. It's made for a low budget. It's $6,000 movie. So they really couldn't afford effects, things like that. Like the zombies they kill are primarily off screen. Like if you were like a person, you'd prefer a Dead Alive or a, thinking of like very like Dead Snow 2, like very gory zombie films, you're definitely not going to like this. Like if you like the old school classic Romero, like something along the lines of A Night of the Living Dead, you'll love this movie. It's so up that line. And the dialogue is just so good. Like I love, there's a scene where they're talking. They find this walkie-talkie, and there's a woman on the radio, and Adam starts to fall for her. Oh my God, we've been so hungry, and please, could we find you? Could we stay with you? And he's telling her, he's like, what the hell? What are you doing? He's like, you don't know what she looks like. You're already in love with her. You don't even know what she looks like. And he's like, I have to have dreams, man. I have to believe in hope. And he's like, man, you know what she probably is? She's probably a bull dyke. She's probably got canned hams for fucking cabs, man, just like a fucking trucker, and I love the two of them running back and forth with this. This is so great. There's scenes where he's trying to get him to kill his first zombie because he's a pacifist. He doesn't want to do it. He's like, you're going to have to do it eventually. I can't always just come and rescue you. And, I do think it's interesting about this is they do show the aspects of the zombie apocalypse that a lot of people never think about. Like there's a scene where Adam Cronheim, he is so fucking horny. He just starts rubbing one out in the fucking car. And because he sees a female zombie, like he just starts jerking off to a female zombie. Because you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, this is fucking not like this guy can't get off. I mean, when's the last time he got off? He's just fucking sitting there, It's very interesting. I don't know. I think it's a very interesting fucking thing, man. I really enjoy The Battery. Those dudes should listen to Battery by Metallica. Love Metallica. Nacho. Your Mets have the highest payroll in baseball and stink. They do. They are the worst team money can buy, man. They absolutely fucking suck, and I'm very disappointed in them. I got a concept for a Matt Harvey documentary called The Narc Knight. Oh boy, you could pitch it to Netflix. I'm sure they'd love that. Labyrinth UFC is here. Welcome. You're going up against the game, but I'm here. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, going up against the game, but you're here. I feel that, man. One of the classic Abbott and Costello is, oh, of course. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know what's on third. I mean, I love that skit. That skit's great. But okay, so let's move on into our number 7, where this is one that everybody probably would have on their top 10 list. I'd be shocked if a lot of people did not have this one in their top 10, because this is, for my money, one of the most famous baseball movies that there ever was, and rightfully so. Of course, from the year 1976, this is the Bad News Bears. Yes, the Bad News Bears. An aging down in his luck ex-minor leaguer coaches a team of misfits in an ultra-competitive California Little League. Yes, the Bad News Bears. My God, I love this movie. And the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about the Bad News Bears is Walter Matthau. Walter Matthau was just one of the great talents of all time. I loved him. I especially loved him as Oscar Madison. I loved him in the Odd Couple movie. Of course, I loved his work with Jack Lemmon. I thought he was just a great actor. I love how he had just the most dry sense of humor. The way he would deliver lines was just so dry. And I love to listen to the stories of this where, of course, he's a pool cleaner now. And of course, he's talking about striking out, famous hitters in the minor leagues and stuff like that. And he's become this drunk, kind of down in his luck guy who doesn't believe in himself anymore. And of course, he comes to the point where he has to coach this little league team. And of course, he wants his star player to be the Tatum O'Neal character, who was just a great actress. I mean, I love her in this. And of course, she had acted with her father, Ryan O'Neal. And I believe she had I think she won the Oscar for Moon. What the fuck was the name of it? Moon something. I think she won the Oscar or was nominated for the Oscar or something like that. But she was just a great actress. And I think this is just one of those movies that, yeah, like I see Alpha saying here, a movie that could never be made today. No, you could not make this movie today. It's so fucking politically incorrect. Like really bad, where you have kids drinking beers in the fucking thing. I mean, you can't get away with some of the stuff in this movie now, but everyone remembers the Bad News Bears theme song. And, the one kid who's kind of the wimpy kid, and the kid sticks up for him. They pick him up and throw him in the garbage can. And of course, Jackie Earle Haley, the ripoff remake Freddy himself, is in this as the kid they recruit, the biker kid. They recruit him to kind of come and save their offense and save their team. And to the point where he actually starts pissing off the other players because he's taking away reps and outs and stuff for them. I just think his character is a lot of fun. Tatum O'Neal, I'll beat him in air hockey. I'll fucking beat him. And if I beat him, he's got to join the team. And she loses, and Walter Matthau's like, "You lost? What the hell are you doing?" Like he gets so genuinely upset. Like most adults be like, "Oh, don't worry about it." Walter Matthau's like, "What the fuck?" Like he's like, "What are you doing, man?" I thought that was just great. Their chemistry with one another, Tatum O'Neal and Walter Matthau, it was absolutely incredible. Their chemistry. I bought them so much as like a real life father-daughter, even though I don't think they are in the film. I don't think they are in real life. Well, I know they aren't in real life, but I mean, they were amazing in this. Just they're bouncing back off of one another. I thought it was so good. Another thing about this movie that I always have to mention is Vic Morrow. Vic Morrow's performance in this movie is so underrated. And I know probably a lot of people are like, Vic Morrow, really? Of all the things to like in Bad News Bears, why Vic Morrow? I'll tell you why. I coached Little League for 3 years. Coached Little League. Vic Morrow, of course, in this, he plays like the villainous Little League coach that's mean to his own kid and fucking embarrasses his own kid and hits his own kid. Like, they're fucking some shit. And granted, the people I'm about to compare him to, I maybe necessarily don't hit kids. At least they didn't in front of me. But he plays like the asshole, Little League coach in this. And man, he is spot on. I have coached against people exactly like how Vic Morrow is in this movie, to the point where I was like, he could have got nominated for an Oscar if I was in the Academy at this point, because it is perfect acting. Like, he is you're like, oh, this motherfucker, I hope somebody punches this bastard out. And that's the same feeling you get when you're coaching against fucking these bunch of fucking assholes that generally, right? I'm not speaking about all of you, but generally, right? It's usually a fucking, middle-aged man in his mid to late 50s who's fucking overweight and vicariously lives through their dumbass son. So they fucking, I'm into the game. You're a fucking bitch. You need to get a hobby. It's facts. And oh my God, just some of the worst people you could fucking ever encounter. Some of these fucking jackass Little League coaches that claim, I didn't know the ground rules. No, you're fucking pussy, buddy. That's what you are. So Vic Morrow in this, I was like, wow, like what a performance, because man, that is exactly, I remember we were all leaving a game once, and this one he was just a fucking dick. And I remember saying to my assistant coaches, and I was like, that guy could join the Peace Corps tomorrow. He'd still go to fucking hell. And they all fucking die. They were like, you gotta love Little League. Fucking Grande throwing out lines like that. It's the truth. It's just so, oh my God, just awful. Mikey J says, great pick, Tatum and Walter. Gotta love them, man. Great performance. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think the Billy Bob Thornton one is good at all. I think it completely misses the magic that this movie has. Like, this movie is just so fucking great. Right? Like the humor in this movie is so much better than the 05 movie. Like the whole where the one kid he's trying to quit and he climbs up the tree and he's like, man, this team sucks, man. And he mentions something about race, and Walter Matthau's like, don't bring race into this. He's like, we got enough fucking problems. And then he says something to him. He's like, oh, I should have maybe tell you about all the times Hank Aaron struck out. And he's like, what? And he goes, well, he almost quit baseball his first year. And, it would be a shame if you did the same thing, like comparing the kid to Hank Aaron to try to use reverse psychology so he'll come and play for them. I liked that. I just thought Matthau was so good in this. Like, I think that was the issue, too, with the 05. I like Billy Bob Thornton, but in no way is he playing this role. Like that Matthau owned this role, man. Just you can't replicate. They never should have remade this. I think they did the 2 sequels. They did the Bad News Bears, I think, in basic training, and then the Bad News Bears in Japan, which I don't know if people remember that. The Bad News Bears in Japan, that was pretty bad. I remember that movie. I believe it just got a fucking special edition, Bad News Bears in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Bad News the class. You can't. What is it? So the Bears are playing the Athletics, and what does that mean for the Athletics? Bad news for the Athletics. I love that stuff, man. It's just such a great movie. Near perfect film. I agree. I really enjoy Moneyball with Brad Pitt too, and the true story is pretty awesome. Well, you stay tuned, Sean, because that made it. Buttermaker, gotta love Buttermaker. Paper Moon, that's right. Paper Moon, that's right. Okay, thank you. And I don't know if she won for it or not. I think she was nominated for it. I've seen Bad News Bears, but it's been a long time. Got to rewatch. I also like the remake. Okay, fair enough. I believe the remake was directed by, was it Richard Linklater that did the remake? Which I was surprised he would ever do something like that, because I feel you can't replicate that. Labyrinth. Jackie Earle Haley is in all 3. That's right. Yes, he's in the trilogy of Benders. Yes, that's right. Before he died in the Twilight Zone movie. That's right, man. It's sad. Matthau, truly a legend. Yes, absolutely, truly great in all his roles. Bad News Bears rules. I agree. I think it's a masterpiece. They need to make a sequel with Wade Barrett as the coach. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. That was a great gimmick, man. It was a terrible gimmick, but he made it. He got it over. At least Japan had Antonio Inoki in it. Did it really have Antonio? I fucking did not remember that. But that must have been late 70s, like 78, 79, right? Because I think they did 77 was the sequel. Like they churned out the sequel really quick. And I mean, it just didn't, the sequel was not anything special either. So, I mean, it is what it is. But that is the Bad News Bears. I really, really enjoy the Bad News Bears. But this next movie might be a lot of people's number ones. And I would not be surprised if it's if there was a baseball movie that I think most people would herald the most, like the one in my life that I've heard heralded the most, it's usually this one. And I know a lot of people probably be like, that's not number 1. That's not in the top 5. What's close to the top 5? God damn, it's number 6. This is the year, of course, celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, which is crazy to think about. But this is a movie I grew up on, a movie that I consider a great coming of age movie, alongside being a great baseball movie. And another baseball movie that I'd say is about friendship. This is The Sandlot. The Sandlot. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let's get a brief plot synopsis. In the summer of 1962, a new kid in town is taken under the wing of a young baseball prodigy and his rowdy team, resulting in many adventures. Yes, The Sandlot. Don't miss it. Do, 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 do. Man, I mean, I have it here. I used to watch this on VHS to death. I don't know what happened to the case, but The Sandlot was one of those movies that I just grew up on and absolutely fell in love with. And again, it has all those themes that I was saying that The Battery has, with the camaraderie and the coming of age story. This kid that's the new kid in town. He's a nerd. He doesn't have friends. And his own mother, played by Karen Allen, is telling him, get into trouble, for crying out loud. And of course, one day he goes out to The Sandlot where these 8 kids are there, and they're all, the thing they got right here was the cast. The characters were just so colorful and memorable. I mean, of course, the great Hamvino, and of course, I'm a great Hamvino. What? I'm a great Bambino. What? I'm the great Bambino. Who's that? Oh, I thought you said the great Bambi. You mean that wimpy deer? I mean, Patrick Renna is great in this movie. Of course, he would go on to be in, I think, The Big Green, which is the soccer movie. And of course, in Dark Ride, for my horror fans out there, slasher movie, a weird slasher movie. Love him in this. Of course, you have Yeah, you have the twins, Timmy and Tommy, you have Squints Palladores, kids, L7 Weenie, and of course Benny the Jet Rodriguez, who's the leader of all of them, and he's this kid where they always say baseball was life. For the rest of these kids, it was a fun game and they enjoyed what they did, but for Benny the Jet Rodriguez, it was his life. They always emphasize that in this movie, and I think I guess Tom or was it Mike Vitar? Mike Vitar is the actor who also went on to be in the Mighty Ducks movies, along with the pitcher, the Nunez, who is, of course, Brandon Adams from The People Under the Stairs and the Mighty Ducks and things like that. Of course, it's always cool to see them in this movie. I think year before Mighty Ducks. Mighty Ducks was 92. This might have been the year after Mighty Ducks. I think 92 was Mighty Ducks, then this was 93, I think, if memory serves me right. Which is so crazy that they were back-to-back works with this movie. And, of course, Tom Gurry plays the lead kid, Scotty Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls! And some more what? Well, how can I have some more if I haven't had any yet? You're killing me, Smalls. First, you roast the mallow. Then you take the graham. You put it on the graham. You take the chocolate. You know, like he's explaining how to make a s'more to him. And you take the graham. I love that shit, man. And camp out. And they just tell him the whole story about this wild beast that lives in Mr. Myrtle's backyard. And, of course, they play with the Babe Ruth ball that goes over the fence. And that's the whole finale of the movie. That stuff is great. And everyone remembers that stuff. But I think also a thing with this movie that is why I love it, is in a lot of ways, it's just like a summer. It's just a summer played out. Like, it's all these adventures they have in the summer. It's a game they play against these snot-nosed kids where they're back and forth. You play ball like a girl. You eat weenies with your mama's toe jam. You fucking lick the toilet seat and you like it. And I love the back and forth in this, man. And there's the scene, of course, where they go to the carnival and they all have the big chaw and they're all eating the, chewing tobacco, and they go on the ride and tequila. They all fucking start throwing up all over people. I mean, this shit's hysterical, and then it, of course, all culminates to that wild finale where, Art LaFleur, who plays the Babe in this, he comes to Benny the Jet in the dream and he says, hey, why don't you just hop over that fence and get it? And you have this really fun finale, this chase scene where the dog chases Benny the Jet Rodriguez all over the town, and circles back to the Sandlot. Just, to me, one of the best coming of age movies of all time, because in a lot of ways it's an important movie for the lead character, Scotty Smalls, where he didn't have any friends. He was, kind of growing up to be a loser and nerd and all these things. But, it's through these kids that at first are very hostile and they don't like him because he can't play. We need him. He makes 9. He makes us a full team. Yeah, but my sister would too, and I don't bring her, and they're all arguing him. And then Benny the Jet's like, listen, you got to believe in yourself. You hear? Just let it roll, man. And you just stick your glove out in the air, and I'll take care of the rest of it. I love that. I think it's really nice how he kind of integrates him into the friend group. And then it's all these wild, instances. They go to the pool, and the Wendy Peppercorn. Oh my God. And Squints pretends to drown. That whole sequence is just great. Every time I watch this movie, it never fails to put a smile on my face. And it, in a way, makes you nostalgic for a childhood you may not have ever even had. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, granted, I had a nice childhood and I played a ton of, organized baseball. I never played in a Sandlot, like unorganized with just my friends all day. Like, it sounds like amazing to me, but I can't relate to that. I never did that. But man, this movie is just it makes you nostalgic for a childhood you may not have even lived. Like, it makes you nostalgic for his childhood, which is just, it's incredible. And of course, it is narrated by the writer-director David Mickey Evans, who, of course, in a lot of similar way to like A Christmas Story, he narrates this thing with Bertram. Well, I love his narration, and it's a lot of fun. I think he's really good. Of course, this is a lot better than the Sandlot 2, which I do have. I think I have the Sandlot 2 somewhere. That was one of those sequels that never, ever, ever should have been made. Why you knock on the door? I would have just gotten it for you. Yeah, James Earl Jones shows up in this, of course. Second James Earl Jones appearance. And it's funny, I read he doesn't like baseball. Happens to be in 2 of my top 10 baseball movies. Alva, another film that could probably never be made today. I think you could probably, it can never be made well today. I definitely agree with that. I think you could get away with this, though. It's not like politically. I'm trying to think, is there anything like controversial in this that wouldn't fly? I mean, I guess the you play ball like a girl. I think there would be people that get pissed off at that. I don't know. You're trying to disparage women? No, we're not fucking disparaging women. That's how fucking 13-year-old boys talk. It's a fact. I'm sorry. I fucking hate society, man. Love the Sandlot. Squints as a boss for getting a smooch from Wendy. And you know who that is? I couldn't believe it. And I don't know why it took me all these years to notice. That's Marley Shelton. Marley Shelton from fucking Planet Terror and the later Scream sequels. Marley Shelton, man. I was like, holy fucking shit, this is Marley Shelton. Like, I think she's in Sin City. Love Marley Shelton. Really beautiful lady. You play ball like a girl. Oh, shit. Then the music. Sandlot would probably be my number one. I think a lot of people throw the Sandlot number one. That's why it's crazy for me to throw it at number 6. I have 5 movies after this. Like that's how fucking good this list was for me. I love The Sandlot to death. I mean, it's one of the best coming of age movies of all time. Just a fantastic, genuine movie about being a kid and mixing innocence with adult situations. Just love the movie. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls. Love it. So quotable. There's an old Disney short film called Casey at Bat that is a baseball musical that is focused on a baseball player. That's pretty cool. That's right. Yes, that's right. You beat me to it. I didn't see the comment until after, but dude, you beat me to it. Very cool. The friendship element is so strong in this, and it feels like the 50s. That's right. It does. Like, of course, at the end, he pulls out the PF Flyers. While I do like the sequel, it doesn't truly feel like the 70s. It is like that sequel. And in a lot of ways, that sequel feels like a remake. It's the same movie. It really is the same. Like, it's Smalls again. You get the fat redheaded kid again. But it's 10 years later. It's supposed to be a completely different group of people. And it still feels like a remake. Like, The Sandlot 2 is one of the most unnecessary movies ever made. It just doesn't make sense. And then they made the third one with Luke Perry, where Luke Perry gets hit in the head with a pitch. And he's knocked out the whole movie. And it's him in dreamland remembering his childhood, which I never saw it. I was like, no, but rest in peace, Luke Perry. Love the 4th of July. Oh my God. The 4th of July scene is great, where we only played one night game a year. And of course that scene, I can, every block party I've ever been to as a kid, it takes you right back there where the kid, he's making the hot dog. And of course, Benny hits one into the air and they're all in such marvel of the fireworks, and you hear the Ray Charles, America, America. Amazing. I love that rendition by Ray Charles. Probably my favorite of any, rendition of America the Beautiful there ever was Ray Charles' version of it. And of course, I love, that's when, the lead character, Sky Smalls, his narration, for Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez, baseball was life. And he was good at it, real good. I love that. Live up to the original. There's no way, man. You can't live up to this original movie. It's very nostalgic. It is. The Great Bambino. Oh my God. You mean that's the same guy? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dennis Leary is the stepdad in it, fun enough. Hell yeah. Love James Earl Jones. Oh, his scene is so good in it, man. Where one day, pow, the lights went out. Why don't you have this one? It's signed by the rest of the 1927 Yankees. And they infer that he would have broken Babe Ruth's record, but he went blind. And love James Earl Jones. That's a great, presence at the end of this. Squints, OMG, we almost got killed. Yeah, been planning that for years. He goddamn planned that. I love that. That's right. Yeah, that's right. You're right. Definitely. Make sure to hit the like button, y'all. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I love the lines at the end of what happened to the kids. Me too. Thank you for fucking mentioning that, because I would have forgot. Yeah, that's right. One of them got abducted by aliens. That's right. Dude, yeah, like one of them picked, one of them did mini malls. Ham became a pro wrestler. De Nunez was in AAA, and he called his sons the Heaters. Like, I love Wendy Peppercorn and Squints got married. They had 9 kids. I love that, man. I think too that the brilliance of that scene is that he says that they all drifted except he and Benny. Like, and it's a sad part of life, but that happens. Like, there are people that I was friends with at 10 that I don't see anymore. I don't talk to anymore. It's not that we had a fight. It's not that I hate the person or the person hates me. No, we probably both would wish well upon each other, but people drift. That's a part of life. It really is. I think that is a thing that this movie makes me realize. When I saw it as a kid, I was like, oh, I'll be friends with my friends forever. And some of them I am. I mean, I'm still really close to my friend Brandon. We've been friends since, we were in 2nd or 3rd grade. But then I have friends even before him that I don't see or hear from anymore. You just don't hear from them. It's so weird how people drift, but it's nice to see that he and Benny, all these years later, Benny the Jet steals home in a major league game. And of course, Scotty Smalls is the announcer. I thought that was really nice how that comes full circle. Let's see. Then the Me Too movement would come after Swin. Wow. You know what? Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's right. Isn't that a shame? How can you to think that this movie would be politically the world is just a shitty place, man. The third one is god awful. At least the second one. Yeah, the second one is like a remake. It really is the same movie. I don't think I want to see the Sandlot sequels, LOL. Yeah, you're not missing anything. Especially if you've seen the Sandlot 1, there's no fucking reason to watch the Sandlot 2. It's the same thing. Anyone ever see James Earl Jones in Best of the Best? I have not. Let's see. Shut your mouth, Phillips. Shut your mouth, Phillips. You put toe jam on your weenies and you like it. You smell your own farts. You play ball like a girl. I mean, great stuff. Love it, man. JP's in the house. What are we up to? Well, we're up to number 5. We're just wrapping up the Sandlot here. 2 is terrible too. I only like the first one. Yeah, it's not a movie that ever needed a sequel, but the Sandlot, an all-time classic. To me, arguably one of the best coming of age movies that there ever was. And I absolutely love The Sandlot, man. Long live The Sandlot. Probably a lot of people's number ones. I could see it easily being somebody's number one, and understandably so, because it's just so great. And honestly, for myself, it's just a big nostalgia movie. So what do we have left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies left. So we're diving into the top 5. Place your bets now as to what's going to be number 1. I'm super excited to hear it, because now we are coming in to number 5. Yes, number 5. This is a movie that a lot of people forgot about, and actually for a long time and to this day really kind of gets shit on. I mean, this movie was nominated for Razzies. This movie was Keanu Reeves was nominated for Worst Actor at the Razzies for this movie, which makes no fucking sense to me. This movie came out the same week as the September 11th attacks in 2001. So, of course, this movie bombed at the box office because of that. A lot of people did not see it. And then when the people did see it, it got bashed by critics. A movie that really, in my opinion, got the short end of the stick. And this is from the year 2001. This is Hardball. Yes, Hardball with Keanu Reeves. Got a brief plot synopsis. A gambling addict and a ticket scalper living an aimless life reluctantly agrees to coach a little league team from the Chicago projects as part of a loan agreement. Yes, Hardball with Keanu Reeves. This is another one I actually have the VHS up somewhere over there. I didn't bother to. I was running a little late tonight, so I didn't get a chance to dig it out of there. I swear to you, I have the VHS of Hardball. And if you haven't seen it, it is free on Amazon Prime. It's free on a lot of streaming services. This is a great movie. I love Hardball, and I don't understand why people hate this movie. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And for people who say Keanu Reeves does a bad job in this movie, I would say it's one of my favorite Keanu Reeves performances, as this guy who is down in his luck, and he's a gambling addict, and he's, of course, the movie opens, he's in a church, and has his hands together. You looking for faith, son? I'm looking for the Bulls to cover +6. That's what he's looking to do. He's a gambling addict, and he loses this really horrible bad beat at the beginning. He smashes up the bar, and then of course he's sent to prison, and he's given this one last chance by his rich stockbroker friend to, hey, I'll give you $700 or $750 a week, I think it's something like that, to coach a little league team for me, because I like to give back to the community. And then of course we're introduced to the little league kids that they play in the projects. They play in a really rough side of town of Chicago, AJ Zitro, where you at, brother? They play in this really rough side of town. You have a lot of actually memorable faces in this. Of course, Michael B. Jordan in his film debut is one of the kids in it. Of course, he's Jamal, who he's one of the kids for a little while until he turns to the dark side, because they have to let him go, which is a damn shame. But I mean, he's in this movie, so it's always kind of cool. Like, Michael B. Jordan, holy shit, you grew up to be somebody. You have all these, I think the characters, the kids in this are so great. You have Jefferson Albert Tibbs. He has his diabetes, so he's got to have his sugar babies and all that. You have G Baby, who's like the heart and soul of the team. He's this really small kid who's not old enough to play on the team, but he's their whole heart, and he always is there for cheering them on and stuff like that. You have the one kid, of course, Miles, who is the best pitcher in the world, and he listens on these headphones to Big Papa. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air, use a true player. He listens to that, and he could just strike out the world. He has to feel the rhythm to strike you out, because without the music, he gets clobbered. And I thought that was a really fun character. I loved Miles, that he was great. And I think this is a very interesting movie, because it's a very different take on a little league type of baseball movie, right? Like Bad News Bears, classic 70s, distinctly 1970s, and we're nostalgic for Sandlot in a way. It makes you, like I was saying, it makes you nostalgic for a childhood you might not have even fucking had. That's the magic of the Sandlot, the 1960s kind of vibe of the Sandlot, right? The drugstore and all that stuff. This movie is very of its era. It's very early 2000s in the rough side of town, and Keanu Reeves, through these kids, starts to try to find himself again. I thought that was a really nice kind of way of storytelling. I really do. Like, there's a great scene where they get up in arms with him because he's going to leave the team, and he goes, how many of you have ever been to a real game? And none of them have, because a lot of them don't have father figures in their life. Like I said, they're very not, well-off people. And he starts, ha, 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 you will never be a team until you see it's done right. And then, of course, he's like, get in the fucking car. We're going to Wrigley. And he takes all the kids to Wrigley Field. And this hasn't aged well, but they see Sammy Sosa. It's Sammy. They're all waving to Sammy Sosa, and Sammy Sosa waves back. It's so fucking poorly done, where Sammy Sosa is clearly like behind a green screen. But I thought that was kind of funny. And of course, Sammy Sosa is kind of erased. Like nobody talks Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire or Canseco. All those guys, it's like they didn't play now. It's like baseball was like, nope, you're erased because of the steroid stuff. But I thought that was a really nice scene where they're all, they get to have that night out at the ballpark, because you think about it, a lot of these kids don't get that. They didn't have that. Some of them, they're afraid to walk home alone at night because it's such a bad neighborhood. And Jefferson Albert Tibbs gets beaten up at one point. It's really kind of a scary sequence. And Keanu Reeves is like, oh man, I should have probably taken him home. I'm sorry about this. I thought that was really interesting. And of course, there's also a love story here with Diane Lane and Keanu Reeves. It's okay. It doesn't really have to be in there, where she's like the Catholic school teacher. That stuff's okay. I do love the stuff with John Hawkes. John Hawkes is his best buddy, and they're talking about placing bets together. And he's like this ticket scalper who, when a man needs crack, a man needs crack. I love that shit. That shit's really funny. I thought that was really, really something else, where he's like selling people tickets to games that happened already. I love some of the scenes where they're in the pizza parlor, and man, for every home run I hit, I get one slice, and they're all talking to him about it. And hey, man, do we get trophies? Please tell me there's a chance we get trophies. We go into the ship. What? We go into the ship. Love that, man. I think that's just great. I thought the kids were nice. I thought they just had a nice energy to them. And of course, they suck at first, but then of course slowly but surely start getting better. And then it all kind of culminates to this really big game against their arch rival team, where they all kind of had their character arc moment, where the one pitcher, he's not allowed to pitch with his headphones. You think he's going to get rocked. And then of course, Keanu Reeves and all the kids start doing, I love it when you call me Big Papa. And he starts feeling the rhythm again, strikes the kid out. And then of course they let G-Baby bat. And I liked how this was done. I really liked how this was done. They let G-Baby bat, and they cut the scene. Like he says, I have G-Baby batting for Jefferson Albert Tibbs. And they cut the scene, and the next thing you see is Keanu Reeves dropping the kid and his brother off, Kofi. And he drops them off. And then, of course, we see Michael B. Jordan, who originally was with the team. Now he's turned to drugs. Now he's turned to the crime, all that stuff, which is really sad to see. And Jamal, what's up? And he just shakes his head like, oh, my God, this kid was fine until this happened. Like, it's so sad to see, how a good egg can turn bad just like that. It's kind of sad. Of course, you have this really scene that blows your minds. A spoiler alert. There's a gun shootout. And G-Baby gets shot right in the chest and dies. It's a little kid, like a little 8-year-old kid. You don't expect that in this movie. You're like, oh my God. And then of course the next thing we see is the wake at the church and all that. And she says, can anyone come up here and say a few words about my son? And Keanu Reeves goes up there and, in my opinion, gives one of the best performances of his career. This is why when I hear he got nominated for worst actor at the Razzies, I'm like, how is that possible? If you watch this scene and do not tear up or cry, I don't know who can cry, talk about it. It's so good, man. I love this scene where Keanu Reeves he had a great smile. And the other day we had a big game against a good team and we let him bat. I had no choice but to let Jarius bat. And he had a little grounder up first base and, he beat it out. And he says, the way he raised his arms in triumph as he ran to first base, it lifted me in that moment to a better place. He lifted the world in that moment. And everyone in the fucking place just starts crying, just bawling their eyes out. That's acting done great. Keanu Reeves is very underrated, man. I love his performance in this. I really will never get how the Razzies saw this and went, all right, worst actor. Like, what? Like, what of all the movies, I'll say this, Keanu Reeves has done work, like Knock Knock. Yeah, that's not a great Keanu Reeves performance. Dracula, where he's Jonathan Harker, that's not a great performance. This fucking movie, come on, man. How could you nominate for a Razzie for this? That scene alone is great. And you think they're going to cancel the championship game. And of course, they all confront him. And what's going on, guys? What? And we want to play, bitch. I love that. We want to play, bitch. Let us play. And of course, they go to the championship, and Keanu Reeves has this really one last nice speech where he says, you know, you guys have taught me something important. The most important thing in life is showing up. And it's just this great moment. And they do win the title. And you see all the pictures of them holding the trophies like they had said in the pizzeria. And it's just a nice, heartwarming moment. It just has a lot of heart to it. And it has a lot of different emotions running through it. Like, it has very good drama elements. It's funny. The kids are very funny. But I wouldn't say it's a comedy either. I think it's a fucking pretty serious movie. It was directed by Brian Robbins, who people remember from Ready to Rumble. He also is the guy that directed Good Burger, right? Brian Robbins brought us Good Burger. A few years later, makes Hardball, and man, this movie bombed. Unfortunately, a lot of people hated this. And man, his career went down the shitter. I think he did like The Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen. He did 1,000 Words with Eddie Murphy. I mean, his career really went in the shitter after this. It's so sad, because if I saw this movie then and I was in any position of power at a studio, I would have said, Brian Robbins, I want you to come in and make more movies like this, because Hardball is fucking great. I love it. To me, all around, just such an underrated movie that more people need to talk about, man. Love Hardball. But let's go to the chat here. I think we were here. Gordy and Stand By Me explained Drifting Apart. That's true. That's true. And that's a definite, like, that's one of the movies I always think of when I think of coming of age movies, where, you know, in that movie, you're like, dude, they can never drift apart. Like, how? You know, because they're just all four of those kids were just great together. Jerry O'Connell, Corey Feldman, Will Wheaton, and River Phoenix, may he rest in peace. They were just all so fucking great together. Stand By Me is probably my top 10 movies is Stand By Me. I love Stand By Me. Moneyball is going to be number one. Decent prediction there. Hardball number one. Okay, Hardball. Okay, we got some Hardball fans here. Love Keanu Reeves in River's Edge. I love Keanu Reeves in Speed. I think Keanu Reeves is great. Neo, I mean, I love him. Never heard of this one either. Trench, I think you'd love it. I think you'd absolutely love it. Mernsy says, Hardball is a great movie. Always brings a little tear to my eye near the end. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air. Use a true player. I love it. And I see some babies tonight. You're giving a lot of good suggestions tonight. Thank you, man. Yeah, no, if this one's free, you can watch this anywhere. So it's highly recommend. Keanu Reeves did a football movie. That's right. The Replacements was a couple years before this. Which that got praised. That got great reviews, The Replacements. But for some reason, this movie got shit on. Oh, and dude, I love Bill and Ted, by the way. I love Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted 2, Bo's Journey is my favorite. Fucking Ace Ventura. Okay. Do you know Sammy Sosa? Hey, zip it, kid. What the heck? I don't know what you're talking about. I do know Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa's fucking now. Forget it. Great show, man. Dude, thank you so much. Is the movie 42 on the list? Dude, I wanted it to be. Just for Chadwick Boseman alone, I wanted it to be. So there's a lot of actors I had to leave off this list, and it pained me to do so. For shit like Fever Pitch, that I can't help. I love Fever Pitch. Like I was like, I can't leave fucking Fever Pitch off. Like, and honestly, 42 is a better movie than Fever Pitch, but I like Fever Pitch. I don't know. I can't explain it. Yes, it didn't make it, believe it or not. Knock, knock. He should have got a Razzie for that awful piece of dog shit, The Matrix. Oh, not a Matrix fan. Okay. John Wick. Love John Wick, man. I'm thinking I'm back. He's great. I think Keanu Reeves had a great resurgence, man. That John Wick was the movie that really put him back on the map for years to come. And this is a movie that I think is one of his best. Dare I say his best performance. I love Keanu Reeves in Hardball. One of my faves. But moving on into number 4. Yes, number 4 here, where I'm absolutely stoked to discuss this one, because this is a lot of people's favorites, and I've already seen a lot of people mention it tonight. So you'll not have to wait no longer. From the year 1989, this is Major League. Yes, Major League. Of course, the new owner of the Cleveland, we won't say the name. I don't want to get canceled here. The Cleveland team puts together a purposely horrible team so they'll lose and she can move the team. But when the plot is uncovered, they start winning just despite her. Yes, Major League, man. Love Major League. I mean, just I would say the best baseball comedy. It's the best baseball comedy, because the rest of the last 3 movies on here are dramas. They have laughs, but they're all dramas. The last 3 movies I have on here. Whereas this one, man, comedy wise, I think this is the funniest. This is the best baseball comedy, like straight up comedy. It does have some dramatic parts in it, but it is more of a laughed out loud comedy. I really enjoy Major League a lot. I mean, Major League is just so fucking great. I mean, the cast alone. I love Tom Berenger as Jake Ryan. I think Jake Ryan is the character's name. He's like this, old aging catcher. Or Jake Taylor it was. Sorry, Jake Taylor. He's this old aging catcher who's trying to milk the last bit of baseball he has. It's his last season, and he's just trying to get through it. His knees are all banged up, stuff like that. You have Charlie Sheen, who is playing the Wild Thing. This is before the winning Charlie Sheen. Granted, I'm sure he was just as wild back then as he went on to be, 2.5 Men and all that shit. And the winning, all that stuff. I mean, he was absolutely crazy. And he plays Ricky Vaughn in this, who's the Wild Thing, who I just think he's so great. I just absolutely love his character in this. I think he's great. And of course, you have Wesley Snipes, Willie Mays Hayes here. Hit like Hayes. I love that shit. Like, and of course, I got cut already. Like, they take his bed because he's not supposed to come to the camp, and he starts running. He runs right past everybody. Get him a uniform. And the whole, you may run like Mays, but you hit like shit. I love some of the dialogue in this, man. And of course, you have Corbin Burnson, the dentist himself, as Roger Dorn, this third baseman who's too good for his own. He won't lay out for things, and he doesn't want to get hurt. He doesn't want to, put his body on the line to help the team. He's one of those kind of pretty boys, even though he's not. You have, of course, James Gammon as the manager, Lou Brown, who he does a great job in this. I love him, his fucking whole tone and raspy voice. I think he's just such a good character in this. Of course, Dennis Haysbert, who if anybody who watches commercials, let all stand. Are you in good hands? He plays Serrano in this movie, the guy who any fastball he'll hit out of the ballpark, but in this movie, if you throw him the curveball, he can't hit it. And he, of course, prays to, the voodoo gods and stuff like that, and has all these things in the dugout. He's trying to have, voodoo powers help him hit a curveball. I thought that shit was funny. Charles Cyphers from Halloween is in there in a small role. I mean, just such a great cast. Rene Russo, so many great people come into this movie. And I love the whole, story of an underdog team, because Cleveland, let's face it, is an underdog town. The reason they made this movie was because he was like, man, we're never going to win one again. I might as well make a movie where we do win one. And I thought that was so crazy that was the whole mentality behind it. And as of right now, as of the recording of this video, yes, the Cleveland franchise has the longest drought in professional baseball. They have the longest drought. I think the last time they won was like the 50s. And of course, the next longest was the Red Sox, who broke theirs, and the Cubs, even longer than that, broke theirs. So it's right now the Cleveland Guardians. Now they're the team with the longest drought in Major League Baseball, which is so crazy that they were like, "Fuck it, let's make a movie where they fucking win something," And it's to this day, it's like the closest they'll ever get, which is so fucking wild. But I think this movie is hysterical. And of course Bob Uecker, who's of course the play-by-play guy for the Milwaukee Brewers in real life, but in this game he's the he's gonna need a rocket up his ass to catch this one, and he starts cursing on the air, and what does it matter? Nobody's fucking listening anyway. He's pouring all this vodka. That stuff was just great, and some of the interactions between all the players and the dialogue is just so fucking fun, man. I think this movie is fantastic. But let's get back to the chat. Let's see what you guys have to say about Major League. Let's see. Great to see the chat so alive tonight, dude. Absolutely, man. Haven't seen this, but do you think a white savior mentality is a reason for failure? What do you mean? I'm confused. Referring to what? Kicking and screaming, Will Ferrell brings in Mike Ditka to coach a youth soccer team. First thing one of the kids asks him is if he knows Sammy Sosa. Oh, okay. That's one Will Ferrell movie that I was very I don't know. They never cared for kicking and screaming as much as most people. Yeah, Grande, I personally hate The Matrix with a passion. Wow, okay. Wild thing. You make my heart sing. Major League's such a funny comedy. Major League's one of the best. Shocked you like Fever Pitch. I fucking really do like Fever Pitch. I think it's great. And trust me, I don't like Jimmy Fallon. I can't believe Jimmy Fallon made this list, but he made it. I like Fever Pitch a lot. Major League is my favorite. You can't argue with Major League at number one. You can't. Oh, dude, it is. Charlie Sheen is money in this, and he takes Wesley Snipes and Charlie Sheen to the restaurant. They have chili dogs here, and fucking Wesley Snipes. What language is this? He's like, all right, fuck it, I'll order for us. Like, he tries to go out and do something nice for these two rookies, and they're both like not having this fancy schmancy French restaurant. They're like, what the fuck? Do you have chili dogs? Like, what is this? Like, I think this made Charlie Sheen really. I mean, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there anything before this? I know Men at Work was 1990, I believe, with he and Emilio. I mean, he came from the famed Estevez clan, which he ended up being bigger than Emilio, which Emilio, it's weird. He did everything right, and his motherfucker's career ended. I mean, that's really what happened with Emilio. But he was a big deal for a while. Don't be mistaken. Emilio made a lot. Yes, it has to be in the top five. It's just such a fucking perfect movie. I love Pedro Serrano. Yes, that's right. Let all states stand. Are you in good hands? Love that. When I search for the hardball, it autocorrect filled with white savior. I don't know. That's interesting. I have no idea. Major League is awesome. Love Major League. Great movie. Are you saying Jesus Christ? Are you saying the Lord couldn't hit a curveball? I love when they get on the fucking plane too. The plane, it's all duct taped together, and fucking Pedro goes like this. And the fucking old pitcher goes, now you believe in the fucking Lord. I love that shit. It's like, I see you now. Where's fucking Macumbo now? Stay away from Susan. Suck my dick. Oh my god, dude. Fucking Wesley Snipes is great in this. One of my favorite actors. I love Wesley Snipes. 40s. I love the cover song of Wild Thing in the baseball game. Oh my god, when he enters and the fucking crowd, Wild Thing, da-na, da-na, you make my heart sing. Of course, now it's become a big thing with closers. Like a lot of closers have entrance songs now. Like I believe Brian Wilson, who was a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, they won a world championship there with them. He had the Wild Thing. That was his theme song. I know right now the biggest closer entrance theme in baseball is Edwin Diaz. Even though I'm not a big fan of him, that's like the most electric entrance. I mean, people love it to the point where even people that don't watch Mets games are like, oh, that's the trumpet guy, right? Like he is like become an icon in this town. It's so crazy because he had one good year. I just so crazy. 48 actually. What do you mean? I'm confused. What are you referring to numbers wise? I haven't seen this one either. You haven't seen Major League? Oh my God, Trent, see Major League. The manager of Cleveland, Terry Francona, actually is a cameo in Major League. Oh wow, and he took them to a World Series and almost won. They were with 7 games with the Cubbies and lost in Game 7 at home. That's so crazy. I did not know Terry Francona was in it. Bob Uecker was known for his role as George Owens on the 80s TV series Mr. Belvedere, and he's great in this. I just love him. My favorite baseball comedy might just be A League of Their Own, although don't know if it counts as a full-on comedy. Well, Trench, spoiler alert, that's on here too. But I would say that's more drama, even though it has comedy in it. Didn't know that. I didn't know it either. Hot Shots, that one's undeniable. Emilio is leagues ahead of Sheen. I would agree, and for a while I think Hollywood agreed, but at a point Charlie Sheen was a big deal. And I would think just from 2.5 Men alone, he's probably made more money than Emilio. I mean, Emilio was big, though. I mean, Emilio was The Breakfast Club. Emilio was The Mighty Ducks. Emilio was Judgment Night. Emilio was St. Almost Fire. Emilio was Steakhouse. Not Steakhouse. Steak Out with fucking Steakhouse. Fuck. This should have been fucking called. Sean, yeah, running to or from first base. It's very fast. I did not know that. It's so cool. Yeah, Sean, no contest. The character of Rachel Phelps kind of feels like a female version of Dean Warmer from Animal House. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so. That's right. I mean, and I always, being the nerd, the horror fan I am, I always remember that actress, and she's since passed away. It was just too bad. I believe, I want to get her name right here. Margaret Whitten plays the owner of the team. She was in a great Tales from the Dark Side episode that nobody talks about. It's called Mary Mary. And she's like this down on her luck woman that does all these like dating. Back in the day, you'd have these things, which granted, this is way before my fucking time, but apparently this was a thing. Maybe people remember, my older viewers, maybe you could verify this for me. You'd have something where you'd send a tape of yourself to somebody. And it would be like a promo for yourself. You'd film and talk a little bit about yourself and then send a tape to somebody and they'd decide, hey, do I want to go on a date with this person? And fucking she's in the episode and basically, you know, she hears some interest back from this man and she starts going fucking slowly but surely crazy and talking to this mannequin in her apartment. It is one of the best Tales from the Dark Side episodes you'll ever see. It's so good. And she was great in it. I always remember from that. And then I think in this, she's just so funny. Like when the Wild Thing comes out, she goes, I hate this fucking song. And of course, Charles Cyphers, sit the fuck down, Charlie. He starts clapping for the team. It's just great. And, you know, fun thing about this, they have filmed this, and this is apparently, it's still around. So I would love, just out of curiosity, there was a twist in the initial cut of this movie where she wasn't a villain, where she the whole time did it to get them fired up and win in spite of her, which I was like, wow, like that's crazy. And that footage apparently exists. They filmed it, screened it for a test audience, and the test audience was like, that was a great movie, but what the hell? She was better as a villain. Like, you can't have her be a fucking baby face at the end. And they changed it back. They changed it to, she lost all the shit that she bet on, which I thought was funny. James Karinchak, who's a reliever who plays for Cleveland, comes out to Wild Thing. That's right. Okay. And he wears 99, which is Rick Vaughn's number. Let's see. In Guardians, last time one was 48. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My top 5 baseball movies: Angels in the Outfield, Bull Durham, Little Big League, 42, Major League. Those are all great picks. Angels in the Outfield was very close. So was Bull Durham. Neither one quite made it, though. I remember Randy Quaid in Major League. That's Major League 2. That's right. You stink. You said Wild Thing. You make my heart stink. That's the second one where Randy Quaid's in the crowd the whole time yelling. And at first he's this it's the perfect critique of a fan who, like, we're going all the way this year, I'm telling you. And then, of course, the first game in, they lose, and you stink. I hate you all. Like, it's just that's exactly. And then when they win it all, he's like, I told you since spring we win. Like, he's basically playing Frank the Tank for all my New Yorkers. Repo Man. Whenever I see a clip of Frank Fleming, that's right. Yes, he's very similar to Frank Fleming. Sheen cameoed in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 with Estevez, one of my favorite movies. That's right. Another Emilio movie. I mean, Emilio was a big deal for a while. But Major League, I also, just before I wrap up Major League, I always loved the last sequence, like the baseball sequence at the end where they play the Yankees, which, I mean, could you get a better villain? I mean, could you possibly get a better villain than the New York Yankees? You just can't. The New York Yankees, where they're playing the Yankees, and of course, Wesley Snipes gets on base. He steals second. It's such a heart-pounding moment. Everyone knows he's going to go. He just makes it in. And then, of course, Jake decides, I'm going to bunt. I'm going to lay down like a check swing bunt type of thing where, we'll have Hayes in motion and I'll beat out the throw because the third baseman's back. And the way they slow it down is he's busting it down to first base. And just the heart-pumping moment and the kind of slow score, the boom, 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 like slow. And you're like, oh my God, the pitch. And they throw home. Snipes make it, and they all kind of embrace each other, and it's just a great moment. I love how, again, this is another movie where everybody sort of has their arc. Like, Serrano finally hits the 2-run homer on the curveball, and the manager, who was a fucking guy who ran an auto shop, gets this team from last to first place. And I love that final shot. I always love the final shot of Major League where he's holding up Rene Russo on his arms, Serrano, Dorn, and then of course, Wesley Snipes and Charlie Sheen kind of pointing at each other. That's great stuff, man. I love the ending of Major League. Major League is a great movie. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. Trenchy, I think you got to see it, man, because I think you'd absolutely love it. Let's see. We have Trenchy saying, yeah, I haven't seen a lot of baseball films. Well, dude, man, it's always a good time to start. The Explorer of Horror is here. Nate, welcome, my friend. You ever see Emilio in A War at Home? Great movie. I haven't, man. Huge fan of The Sandlot. Already talked about it. Sandlot came in at number 6. Love The Sandlot. Never seen any other baseball films. LOL. Wow, man, you picked a good one to see if you were going to see one. So that is Major League. I mean, it seemed like a lot of people's favorite here. But now we dive into the top 3. The top 3, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. And, of course, we're going to open up with a movie that came out in 1992. And for my money, is directed by one of the great filmmakers of all time, being Penny Marshall. And I love Penny Marshall, anything Penny Marshall ever did. Like, I love Jumpin' Jack Flash. Big is probably my favorite non-horror movie ever made. I love Tom Hanks in Big. I think she directed it perfectly. Awakenings with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. Just a perfect fucking movie. And such an interesting role for De Niro. Like, it's one of the most different roles De Niro ever played. And then Robin Williams sort of playing it straight-laced, the doctor, serious tone doctor, and that. Love that movie as well. But this next movie here may just be one of her best as well. And that's no small feat, man, because this is A League of Their Own. Yes, A League of Their Own from 1992. Brief plot synopsis. 2 sisters join the very first female professional baseball league and struggle to help it succeed amid their own growing rivalry. Yes, Penny Marshall's A League of Their Own. I think this is a perfect movie. These last three to me are all perfect movies. And not to say that, Sandlot isn't a perfect movie. Probably a lot of these are perfect movies. But this one especially, in my opinion, is a perfect movie. And like I said at the start, you have to start with the cast. Of course, you had Gina Davis, who at this time was one of the biggest actresses in the world. Like, of course, I remember from The Fly, but then, of course, there was this movie. Of course, I know the big movie that derailed her career was the Cutthroat Island movie. It was The Long Kiss Goodnight. And Gina Davis is a fucking big megastar at this time. And then she just sort of kind of faded out. I remember she did the Stuart Little movie as the mom with Hugh Laurie from House playing the dad. I always thought that was kind of funny. But then, that was really it. I think she had the one show, the Madam Secretary, and then that was it kind of it. She faded out. Which was too bad. Of course, you have Lori Petty, who plays her younger sister, Kit, who's just great in this. Probably my favorite Lori Petty performer. I think Lori Petty does a good job. You have fucking Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell in this movie. Like, on paper, if you had come to me in 1992 and said, okay, Grande, we got this movie, A League of Their Own. We're going to have Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell in it. I would have been like, dude, you can't fucking make a movie with Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell. It's worth a shit. And they fucking somehow did it here and made them both likable, especially Rosie O'Donnell. I love Rosie O'Donnell in this movie. It's the best thing Rosie O'Donnell ever fucking did. She's great in it. Great in it. They play this like, these two friends, Doris and May. Madonna is basically playing herself if she was a fucking, like, she's just the kind of the loose one of the team, and she's sleeping around with all these men and sucking off priests and stuff like that. Madonna's basically playing herself, but she is likable in the movie. I'll say that. Of course, Rosie O'Donnell, I think she's just such a great. I love her in this, man. Like, she's saying how there's so many men that have always kind of cheated on her and beat her and stuff like that, and how she won't stand for it anymore. And then, when she starts playing this league, she starts getting noticed by genuinely good guys. I liked that. That was nice for her character. Of course, you have Tom Hanks as Jimmy Dugan, who plays the manager of this, who was this great baseball player years and years ago, who had all these home runs. But of course, due to his alcoholism and his, kind of high life lifestyle, was driven out of the game. He has a bad knee and all of these things. And it was all due to his recklessness and not caring about life and stuff like that. And of course, he's given a second chance, which at first he dismisses. Manage a girls' baseball team. That's not a baseball team. They're girls. He can't get over the fact that they're women and that it's not another chance to manage in the actual major leagues. He takes it as a demerit or a insult, if you will. I mean, love Tom Hanks. And it was so cool to see him reunite with Penny Marshall. Of course, he does Big a few years earlier with Penny, and in my opinion, gives the best performance of his career, and then turns around in this movie, he gives a great performance as well as the manager. Just great. And of course, everybody remembers, I think Slasher Fred mentioned the line. When we get back to comments, but I think he meant, there's no crying in baseball. Come on. My parents drove down all the way 20 hours to see me play. And my manager yelled at me and called me a worthless sack of shit. And did I cry? No, I did not cry. There's no crying in baseball. No crying in baseball. I love it. We're going to win. Tom Hanks is so fun in this, so animated as this guy who, starts off as this kind of down his luck drunk, and slowly but surely he realizes that, you can make a lot out of a situation where you don't think there's much to be gotten. I love his character in this. I think he's just great. And the way that it's directed, the way that it's written, is so good because it's telling the story between these two sisters, of course, Gina Davis and Lori Petty, respectively. Of course, Gina Davis is the star and everybody loves her. Oh, she's the star. Absolutely love her. Everybody can't get enough of Gina Davis as Dottie Henson. Oh, she's the biggest. She's the best. But Kit, of course, the younger sister played by Lori Petty, she has the chip on her shoulder, and she wants to be bigger, better, and badder than her sister, and she feels that she's living in the shadow. In a similar vein to a Bret Hart versus Owen Hart situation, the younger sibling that lives in the shadow of the great one that everyone champions and crowns, and she just can't take it. She's so annoyed by it. It eats her alive. They're recruited, of course, by John Lovitz, that's a very fun scene. That's probably some of the best laughs you get in the movie when John Lovitz comes to recruit them and stuff like that. And then, of course, they try out, they practice. They believe they shot some of it at Wrigley Field. You could clearly tell it's Wrigley Field, all the ivy in the outfield, which I thought that was kind of cool to film a movie at Wrigley Field. I believe Rookie of the Year is also a movie that filmed at Wrigley Field too, which it's a landmark. Wrigley and Fenway, respectively, are like two of the biggest baseball landmarks out there. Just such nice stadiums. Well, I haven't been to either one, but they're classic, retro, old, I guess. And, I just like some of the scenes between the characters where they're just driving along the road on the buses. And one of them, she can't read. And Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell sort of try to teach her how to read. I thought that was really nice, kind of heartwarming stuff. You have scenes between Gina Davis and Tom Hanks where, she's telling him, hey, drink soda. And he's telling her, hey, you're the best player in the league. You know that, right? And she's kind of like, yeah, like whatever, it doesn't matter. And he's like, well, why are you so like not full of yourself? Like you would never know you're the best on the team. You don't act like it. And she's, well, there's more from my life for this. Like she has a husband that's out fighting in the war, of course, and that's played by, of course, Bill Pullman, who is always cool to see him. I mean, I love Bill Pullman. That's her life. She loves Bill Pullman. I mean, that means everything to her. And when he comes back, she says she'll leave the team no matter where they are in the season, which Tom Hanks is like, you can't just do that. Like, how could you just do that to us? And she's just like, listen, it's not everything for me. I know I'm great at it, but it is what it is at the end of the day. It's just a game to me. And of course they have this whole thing where Lori Petty and her keep clashing heads and styles and all these things. And she gets traded away to, this rival team that they end up playing in the finals. And then it comes down to game 7. And there's this whole kind of interesting play at the plate, which brings up a lot of psychology, brings up a lot of interesting discussion when it comes to this final scene where, of course, they're playing, it's game 7, and there's a play at the plate. Of course, Dottie, Gina Davis gets the ball. Lori Petty's running through a stop sign, and there's a collision at the plate. Another thing you can't do anymore, Buster Posey. Can't do that anymore where the runs over the catcher. And Gina Davis drops the ball, and of course, they lose the game. And a lot of people over the years have made the discussion, did she drop the ball on purpose to put her sister over? Did she do it out of a love for her sister? Or did she really just drop the ball? Was it that brutal of a collision where she dropped the ball? And that sets up so many interesting perspectives and opinions and takes and stuff like that. And I always really saw it the way that the Sandlot says, right? For Gina Davis, as great as she was, and she probably was the best player on the team, best player in the league, it was just a game. It was just something she was good at. It was just something she enjoyed. But for her sister Kit, for Lori Petty, baseball was life. This was the number one thing she wanted. She wanted to finally show everybody and prove everybody wrong that she was better than her sister. And I think it's that moment for her that she finally gets that satisfaction, and the chip is finally taken off her shoulder, the monkey taken off her back, if you will. That's the big moment for her character where finally I beat her at something. Like, I beat you, and in front of everybody, in front of the world, in a game 7 to decide it. I love that. I love that sort of sibling rivalry thing in this, even though one of the siblings is not even interested in the rivalry. It's just such a big determination point for Kit. And then, of course, the stuff at the end, I love where they're all older and they have their own Women Hall of Fame, and they sing the song, we come from cities near and far, we're all for one, we're all American. I love that. And some of them have passed away, sadly, like, because they're all older, and some of them have passed. And that's sad stuff to see, like Tom Hanks's character toward the end, like, he's gone, and a lot of these characters that have gone. There are some politics in there. I think that's one thing that might rub people the wrong way. Like, there's a lot of, how do I say this? Like, anti-feminine stuff. Like the, of course, fucking Penny Marshall's husband, he's in the movie, and he plays this, like, chocolate bar guy, who fucking, I think it's a Harvey bar, the Harvey bar it's called, right? Isn't that what it's called? I want to fucking make sure, actually. Whatever, nobody cares. Fucking, he's like this guy who, he doesn't care about any of this. He's like, oh, this is once the fucking men come back from the war, there'll be no need for this. And hey, they worked really hard. They're playing their hearts out. It's not fair to just take this away from them. There's that whole thing. There's definitely some politics in this, but I think it's integrated so well. And Penny Marshall as a director, I just don't think she gets enough credit. I love the baseball sequences themselves. I think they're so well directed and intense and fun. I don't know. I love this movie. I think this is so great. I think it had a lot to say, and it's just so well acted. And in a lot of ways, even though it has laughs and it has dramatic elements, I do think at its core, it's a story about two sisters, and the kind of rivalry between them. And I think it's a really beautiful movie. I love A League of Their Own. In my opinion, a perfect movie. So let's see what you guys have to say. A League of Their Own, Love it. Remember, there's no crying in baseball. Love A League of Their Own. just a real heartfelt movie. Yeah, it is. It's great. Yes, Gina Davis and Beetlejuice. That's right. Wait, was she? Yeah, that's right. Beetlejuice is a great Gina Davis movie. Love the Madonna song. This used to be my playground. It's such a touching song because it's all about remembering your childhood. Yeah, no, and I mean, Madonna's great in this. You have Bitty Schram who's going to be a monk. Like, there's some good people in this movie, man. I think the waitess I met was religion. She kept screaming Jesus. Yeah, that's right. She kept calling your name. She kept calling your name. I love that. That's such a funny scene with Tom Hanks, man. They did some good peeing there. I love that. Love Tom Hanks is an asshole in the movie. You look like a penis in a little hat. Yeah, does anybody ever tell you look like a penis in a little hat? I love that. And Tom Hanks is great. John Lovitz was in A League of Their Own. That's right, of course. He would also show up in another baseball movie called The Benchwarmers, which I know a lot of people like that movie as well. That Benchwarmers did not make the list, but that's another like big fan favorite at least. Let's see, Lori Petty from Tank Girl. Yeah, what a stat cast. Love this. Yeah, no, the cast is great. It really is great. This is a movie that I'm surprised didn't win awards. Like I think this came out today, it would win awards. Beetlejuice is awesome. Absolutely. Nice fucking model, grabs balls, Hank. Yep. The little kid was fun. Yeah, Stillwell, Angel. Gimme. You're gonna lose. You stink. Love that, man. That was filmed here in the area I live in, Evansville, New Jersey. Oh, Evansville, Indiana. Really? I did not know that. That's really cool, man. I love this movie. So that's a really cool fun fact. And I know if there's anybody who, finds filming locations, it's Alpha, man. He does a great job, man. If you guys are interested in Romero filming locations, he goes to a lot of them. Really cool stuff. He risked his life and went to Braddock, too. That was cool. If you build it, nerds will come. That's another baseball movie that a lot of people like. But A League of Their Own, can't beat it. I guess two movies went over it, but A League of Their Own is great. And I highly recommend it, again, for people who haven't seen it. It was very close. It was definitely a three-way dance between these three for the number one spot. But A League of Their Own comes in at number 3. I really, really enjoy this movie. I think a lot of people definitely need to see it. But coming up next, though, is a movie that I am just flabbergasted doesn't have a bigger audience and is not talked about. It is by far the most underrated movie we will talk about tonight. I guarantee if there's any of you that have seen this movie, I'll be shocked. Like, I will be fucking shocked. And this is a list where The Battery was included as an underrated movie. And I would still say this movie is probably less talked about than even that. This is from the year 1949. Oldie but goodie. This is The Stratton Story. The Stratton Story, yeah, starring the late, great Jimmy Stewart. Brief plot synopsis. Star Major League pitcher Monty Stratton loses his leg in a hunting accident, but becomes determined to leave the game on his own terms. Yes, The Stratton Story. The most underrated baseball movie ever made, arguably the best baseball movie ever made. I do not understand why there is no fan base for this movie and why of all the great Jimmy Stewart performances out there, whether it be, It's a Wonderful Life or Vertigo or Philadelphia Story or Mr. Washington Goes to Town or Mr. Smith Goes to Town, or is it Mr. I think it's Mr. Smith Goes to Town. I think that's it. Mr. Washington Goes to Town. Fucking Harvey. Harvey is one of my favorite. I think that's Jimmy Stewart's best performance is Harvey. But this particular movie, man, and Jimmy Stewart in it, it's why I love Jimmy Stewart. I just love Jimmy Stewart as an actor, one of my top 10 favorite actors of all time, and someone I would like to down the road do a top 10 list on because I just think he's wonderful. I really do. I really see Tom Hanks as the guy that took Jimmy Stewart's place. He's very endearing like Jimmy Stewart, but man, Jimmy Stewart was just a once in a lifetime type of talent. And of course, it stars him as this young kind of small town guy played by, of course, called Monty Stratton, and he pitches in all these kind of local games. He's great, but he has to take care of the crops and his mother down at the farm. And this recruiter comes to get him and says, "Hey man, would you want to try out for the Sox, for the White Sox?" And hey man, I'm busy and I don't think my mom would let me do it and all this stuff. And he eventually convinces him to come out there and try his best. And of course he struggles at first. Then he has to go down to the minors where there he meets June Allison's character, who, fun fact, my grandmother always hated June Allison. My grandmother would always say, she doesn't sing, she yells. She hated June Allison. But I thought June Allison did wonderful in this movie. She's no Donna Reed, Like, she's no Katharine Hepburn, but I like June Allison. I think June Allison's fine. I don't hate her. Like, my grandmother would be like, oh, turn it off. Like, hated June Allison, man. I don't understand why. I thought she was a sweet lady. But from what I understand, she was a bitch in real life. So, I mean, it is what it is. But he kindles a relationship with her, and, she kind of falls in love with him, even though he's sort of, this down in his luck pitcher. He's not doing the greatest. Even in the minor leagues, he's getting hit pretty hard. And slowly but surely, he starts to gain confidence. And, over time, he has a, marriage with this woman, a kid with this woman. He then starts to do better and better and better in the minor leagues. And then he becomes a star in the major leagues. And he's become this like big Cinderella story where, holy shit, this guy who came from nothing, from this fucking small farm, living with his mama, all of a sudden now he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and there's no stopping him. Until, of course, one day he goes out hunting with his dog and he trips and accidentally shoots himself in the leg. And it's this whole thing where, the dog goes to get him help and stuff, but it's too late. They have to end up amputating his leg. And you follow Jimmy Stewart's character for a while in this movie where he falls into a deep, dark depression. And it's really sad to see him fall into this depression, because here's a guy that came from nothing and took it all. And then in a one heartfelt second, it was all taken away from him, just like that. He goes from on top of the world after that long, long climb to the top, through all the bullshit, through all the AAA games, through all the, nonsense dealing with his mother and stuff like that, and this romantic relationship with June Allison. He reaches the top of the pinnacle mountain, and all of a sudden is thrown off. He falls right back down because he only has one leg. And how can you pitch with one leg? How can you perform and compete in Major League Baseball on one leg? You can't do it. At least that's what everyone tells him. And of course, he decides, hey, let me try to get back in the game. Let me try to end things on my own terms. And of course, he works and rehabs to try to get back. June Allison has catch with him, which is this is here on this big poster where she's with the catcher's mitt, like they have catch together. And at first he's throwing and falls down because he can't keep his balance on the one leg. He's on like a prosthetic and he's having a hard time throwing. And then of course, him being such a great story that he is, they invite him to pitch in an all-star game. And the rest of the movie plays out from there as he tries to pitch a complete game on one leg. And man, the intensity of those scenes are some of the best stuff you'll ever see in a baseball movie. It is so wonderfully shot as he's profusely sweating, and the tension, you're like, oh my God, you so want him to succeed and throw the perfect, well, not a perfect game, but a complete game. And he's just struggling so mightily, and you just feel so bad for him. And he ends up having a 2-1 lead in the last inning. And the other coach goes, I hate to do it. We're going to have to start bunting on him. So to make him feel his position on one leg, how hard is that going to be? Of course, bunts, and he runs over to the ball and gets it and can't get him out at first. And you're like, oh my God, he's profusely sweating and all these fans are cheering him on, stuff like that. And of course, he finally does make the play. He starts fielding the bunts and he gets out of the jam. And, just the relief on his face and the smile of Jimmy Stewart, man. He was one of those actors that could just sell charm. He was a guy that knew how to charm you, man. Like, there's so few actors as charming as James Stewart, and you feel that in this movie. Like, you see his rise, you see his very quick sudden fall, and then you see his last rise again, ending on his terms, going out and finishing what he started, even if it was on one leg. And not just for the people that he loves, but for himself, to prove it to himself. I love The Stratton Story. I think The Stratton Story is a beautiful film. Highly recommended if you have not seen it. I know for a fact it's probably the number one movie on this list that nobody has seen. I see the comments went dead. See, this happens, but it's an underrated film. Give it a chance. I know something new, try something new. I know it's some people probably it scares them, but I promise you, you will not be missing out. This is a great movie. I love The Stratton Story. I love Harvey. Dude, I love Harvey too. Haven't heard this one either. A lot of people haven't. I read that Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was originally written as a sequel to Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Sean Blue Digital, got to go. Have a good night, everyone. Sean, thank you so much for checking out, man. Take care, Graveyard Crew. Sean, thank you for all the support as always. That sounds great, man. I think you'd love it. I really do think you'd love it. It's a really, really good one. Nick P is here. Nick P Horror Channel. Great topic. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that comment. But all right, ladies and gents, that takes us to our number one movie of the evening. And I guess there are some people that have already guessed it. But to me, for my money, and I guess pun intended with that, for my money, this is the best baseball movie there ever was. And arguably ever will be. I mean, I fucking love this movie. Its rewatchability is probably the thing that makes it number one. I've rewatched it a ton, and it's only been out for 11 years, man. It really, really has. Oh my God, Mersey is gonna fucking hit me up with impressions of. Oh my God, yes, please, yes, I need to see that, man. I was about to share the screen, but I saw that later. Sean, Beer League. It's not Beer League, no. One of the classic baseball songs I love is Center Field, sung by John Foger. Okay, but let's go back to the screen share because I love this movie here. And performance-wise, it's my favorite performance from this actor. This is Brad Pitt in Moneyball. Yes, Moneyball comes in at the number one slot. Oakland A's general manager Billy Beane's successful attempt to assemble a baseball team on a lean budget by employing computer-generated analysis to acquire his new players. Yes, Moneyball. I love it. I think this is a perfect movie. I rewatched it just a couple nights ago, and every single time I watch it, it gets better. It's just such a fucking perfect movie, in my opinion. And I love it from top to bottom. Of course, it tells the story of Billy Beane, who was this very highly touted prospect, and of course drafted by my fucking team. Fair enough. Alongside Darryl Strawberry, they got Darryl Strawberry too, so that's cool. And won a championship. But for my money, Moneyball is definitely number one. And of course, Billy Beane is this highly touted prospect, and everybody loves him. They think he's going to be this big star. He signs and ultimately becomes a bust, and he's doesn't work out the way they thought, and he gets this big contract, and unfortunately it all kind of backfires on him, but he stays in the game and becomes the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, who have one of the smallest payrolls. I believe the smallest payroll at this time of recording this to this day. I believe Francisco Lindor of the Mets makes more in a season than their entire Oakland A roster. He makes more than all of them. All 26 of those motherfuckers in the clubhouse do not make as much as Francisco Lindor makes alone. That's the difference of payrolls here. And of course, a lot of that is the big point of this movie. It's the payroll, right? It's the payroll of a $38 million team in the Oakland A's versus a $100+ million team in the New York Yankees. And those two payrolls and how different they are. And the movie opens up with the Yankees coming back in a game 5 of a series, beating the Athletics to eliminate them from the playoffs. And then we watch as Billy Beane, of course, is reeling from losing Damon and losing Giambi and losing, Isringhausen, his big closer of Generation K, if people remember that. He's reeling from that, and he knows he can't compete and sign with these other teams, obviously because they have more money, they have a higher payroll. And he says it himself, it's an unfair game. And, there are rich teams, there are poor teams, then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. And he just owns this role. I love Brad Pitt in the role. He's just so fucking good. I know he eventually won the Oscar for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he's great in that as well. But I think this is the movie for me that is Brad Pitt's best role. I love him in it. I think he's just so money in it. And of course, you have Jonah Hill, who I always love to see Jonah Hill in movies, and he's playing more of a serious role. He plays the Peter Brand character, who is this guy that comes to Billy Beane after this very awkward meeting in the Cleveland general manager's room, where he tells the GM, don't do this trade. And he listens to him. He's like, Pete, what happened in there? I want you to come out here and I want you to tell me what happened in there. And then he, of course, explains that, I believe in, statistics, and I believe in on-base percentage, and I believe in all these certain numbers that, I'm not for all these fancy contracts and things like that. I think that you have a team that you can afford, and it opens up so many interesting possibilities if we just sit down and look at it. And of course, he hires him, and the two of them together start evaluating players and using computer analytics to kind of construct the baseball teams. He says there's a lot of reasons why players won't get signed. They throw funny, they look funny, they have a weird physique, whatever. He says this is Chad Bradford. This is a guy who throws funny. That's his defect. This guy should cost $3.5 million a year. We can get him for $237K. And of course, they sign Chad Bradford, and they start getting all these guys that are undesirables, if you will. Of course, the big one being Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt in an early role, of course, before he became Star-Lord and before Jurassic World and all that. You have Chris Pratt in this movie as, of course, Scott Hatteberg. And Scott Hatteberg is, this guy who was a catcher for the Boston Red Sox. He had some nerve damage in his elbow, and he can't catch anymore. So Billy Beane wants him to play first base. And of course, it's a whole argument between he and Philip Seymour Hoffman, may he rest in peace, who plays the manager, Art Howe, who the Mets got the following year because the Mets thought, oh, the reason the A's won all these games is because of Art Howe. No, it wasn't fucking because of Art Howe, because you fucking lost, I believe they lost 100 fucking games with Art Howe. It went from 101 win season with the A's to, I believe, 100 plus loss season in 2000. I don't remember. It might have been like 90 something losses, but they lost a lot of games with Art Howe as the fucking general manager, which I thought was very, not general manager, just the manager. I thought this classic Mets. Oh, you won a lot of games here? Oh, it must be because of you. No, it's because of the GM, you dumb bastard. It's classic Mets. But you have Philip Seymour Hoffman in this, and he won't play Scott Hatteberg at first. Just play him at first, please. And not only is Scott Hatteberg not a first baseman, we have to play Pena. He keeps arguing we have to play Pena. I love that stuff. And then all the arguments, baseball arguments, which I think is so interesting. Imagine doing that for a living, arguing about who should play, who shouldn't play. Like that should be that just sounds like the greatest job ever to me. Arguing about shit like that and getting paid millions to do so. That's just shit we do for free. That would be amazing to be paid for. I mean, it would be. And I do think that the movie has a very nice heart to it. Like I like all of his side stuff. He keeps integrating that he was this bust of a player and how money isn't important to him and how he can't look at it and make decisions based on money. And of course, they do have this kind of sweet side story with his daughter, who is like this, she's sort of a singer. She wants to be a singer, things like that. Robin Wright plays his ex-wife in it from Forrest Gump. Jenny from Forrest Gump. That's Robin Wright. She's in the movie very briefly, but it is cool to see her as always. I like that stuff. Some of the scenes he has with he and his daughter where she's like, hey, you could possibly get fired. I've been reading on the internet. And he's like, don't do that. Don't go on the internet. Don't speak to people and don't do that. I thought that was great. And there's points where she sings songs for him on the guitar. I thought was very sweet. I don't know. I love this movie. I think it's just so fucking fun. As first their experiment, it starts to kind of, go haywire and it's not working and they're losing a lot of games and they're in danger of losing their jobs. And then all of a sudden it just starts to work. And, there's a great scene between Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill where the two of them are talking and he says, who will we win more games with at first base, Hatteberg or Pena? And he goes, theoretically it's close, but in theory, Hatteberg. He says, then what are we doing then, Pete? What are we doing? Why do we have Pena then? And he says, we're all asking each other these questions, but the real question is, do we believe in this thing or not? And I love that conviction. And Jonah Hill, I do. I believe it. And they cut some players go, like Carlos Pena, who went on to be a fantastic Tampa Bay Ray. Of course, Jeremy Giambi, who was a head case his whole career. So that was a good move. I think they gave him to the Phillies. So Sean Blue Digital left. Yeah, they gave him to the Phillies. But Phillies ended up doing okay. They won a World Series shortly after. And man, I just love that. I think that's just so fun as they slowly but surely start to turn this thing around with no names. And then they go on this wild winning streak where they start to win game and game and game. And they go to the streak of 20. Where, they get to the 20th game and if they win this game, they'll break the record for most games won in a row, which funny enough has since been broken by the Cleveland Guardians franchise. They won 22 games in a row, I believe, 21 or 22 games in a row. So they did break the record. So this record stood for 20 something years, I believe. And then that was finally broken, just recently, just a couple of years ago, crazy enough. But they have that very fun sequence with all of that stuff. And it all crumbles down to this game where they're up 11-0. And they almost blow the game. They give up 11 straight runs, 11-11. And then it comes up to Chris Pratt, Scott Hatteberg, who hits a home run to win and walk off. And I love the way the director, he kind of splices in the footage shot for the film and then the real life footage, it's television footage of Scott Hatteberg rounding the bases and the celebration at home plate. And just some of the conversations between Pitt and Hill in this movie is really what I think makes it the number one movie on this list. Like I love the conversation they have right after they broke the record. And he says, Billy, we just broke the record. We won 20 games in a row. No one's ever done it before. And Brad Pitt is just looking and he's like, what's wrong? Why are you upset? How could you possibly be upset right now? And Brad Pitt goes, doesn't matter, does it? And he's like, what do you mean it doesn't matter? We broke the record. He goes, what if we don't win the last game of the series? And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, they'll dismiss us. I know them. I know these guys. If we don't win the last game of the World Series, they'll dismiss us. And if any other team wins the World Series, good for them. Good for them. But if we win with this team, with our payroll, we'll change the game. And that's what I want. and they're all in for the ring. I'm not in for that. I'm in it for changing the game for the better. And I just love that scene. I think Brad Pitt just really told a compelling story acting in that scene where I'm not in this. I hate, losing more than I even want to win. And I'm not in it for a ring. I'm in it to change it. I want to change this game for the better and prove that scouts in yesteryear that thought I was the next big thing and paid me all this money, that they were wrong, that sometimes they get it wrong, and that you can get a great talented team with a little. You can make a lot out of nothing, I guess is his point. Another great scene in the movie is when, towards the end, the Boston general manager offers Billy Beane the most money any GM had been offered to that point, which was $12.5 million. The Red Sox offered Billy Beane to leave and be the general manager for the Red Sox. And that was, of course, following the 2002 season. And he has this critical decision to make. He goes back, talks with his family about it, talks to Jonah Hill about it. And Jonah Hill says, come with me. And he sits down with him and he says, I want to show you something. And it's a great scene where he shows him the video of a overweight guy. And he hits the ball and he says, this is, a guy that obviously has never really wanted to run to second because he's a little bit overweight. And he goes, he's going to do something right now. He's going to do something they never does. He's going to go for it. He's going to go for second base. And of course he runs, tries to go turn the bag. He slips and falls flat on his face, dives back into first. And everyone in the video is laughing at him. And of course, Brad Pitt's like, oh, they're laughing at him. And he goes, well, he's about to see why. He's about to find out that he hit the ball 60 feet over the fence. And he gets up and rounds the bases. And I just love the look on Brad Pitt's face. And he says, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Like, I just love that. Love that line. Love that. Didn't even need to be in there, but he just shows them like it's a sweeter side of the game. Sometimes sports, I think that's the thing with sports. And I get why people don't like sports. I think sports can be douchey. I really believe that. And I think that's a big reason I like this movie is because it's not. It's so like, it's the very heartfelt side of things where I just think it's so fucking well done. I just love this movie. And of course, the final shot of Brad Pitt in the car playing the tape his daughter recorded from him. And, Dad, whatever you decide, I love you. And he says, I can't make a decision based on money. I can't do it. And he plays the song, I'm just a little bit caught in the middle. Life is a maze. Love is the riddle. I love that as he plays that. He's pondering, and we fade to black and we find out that he turned down the $12.5 million and stayed with the Oakland A's out of loyalty, out of love, out of craziness. I mean, I know a lot of people probably say, how could you turn down that money? But I think that's the whole point and the whole arc of his character. He had one point in his life was this up and coming guy, took the money and it all blew up in his face. And he promised himself from that day on, he would never make a decision based on money again. Sometimes you have to just enjoy the show and stay where you are, whether you're making good money or not. Sometimes your happiness is the most priceless thing. And even if you have a low payroll, even if you have shit players, even if you have egg on your face, you're just trying to do better and you're just trying to win the last game of the season. And that's why I really like Brad Pitt in Moneyball. I think he just does a great job as the Billy Beane character. Love this movie. An easy number one pick for me. I love a ton of these movies we talked about tonight, but this one, in my opinion, is number one, man. Absolutely love it. Let's see. Great choice. Thank you so much. Moneyball, huge buzz when this came out. I believe it was nominated for Best Picture, and rightfully so. Love Moneyball. I could watch this movie any day of the week. Same. It has tremendous rewatchability. It really does. Like, I've seen it 100 times. They did exaggerate quite a bit on Moneyball. Now the A's are off to Vegas. That's right. They're going to lose their team, man. It's absolutely wild. Like, they have really, I think they're like 26-71 right now. Like, they have a horrible record. Like, they've won just over, I think, like 26% of their games. Like, they are really like the worst team in baseball this year. It's really sad to see. And yeah, they'll probably be off. Billy Beane will be in Vegas. That winning streak in 2004, I think, was 2002. 04 was actually Fever Pitch. That was when the Red Sox won it all. So crazy enough. Funny, he gets the offer, and then 2 years later, the Red Sox won without him. I haven't seen this one either, but I've heard good things. I think you'd love it. I've never heard anyone say it. Granted, I actually have heard people say they don't like this movie. I actually know Yankee fans generally don't like this movie because it shits on the fucking New York Yankees. But I mean, it is what it is. I know next to nothing about baseball, so I don't know how exaggerated it is. All I know is it's a great fucking film. It is a great fucking film. Exaggeration, I know what you mean. I mean, I know Okay, they never mentioned in the movie that they had Barry Zito, who was the Cy Young winner, and he won like 23 games. And they never mentioned that they had, I believe they had the MVP, Tejada. I believe Tejada was the MVP that year. So they had the MVP and the Cy Young winner. They never once mentioned either one of those guys. Like, so I get why, but like at the same time, again, those guys were not being paid much. So they had David Justice, who was being paid like 7 million, and half of that was from the Yankees. And they have some scenes with him where the Yankees think that of you. They think, that little of you, that they'll pay half your contract to play against them. That's what the Yankees think of you. I mean, there's a lot of scenes like that where they just bury the Yankees. Doesn't Cleveland have the longest? Yes, that's true. Yes, 22. They broke the record of the A's. Only seen 3 of these movies, but interesting and passionate reviews as ever. Thank you. I have a few comments, but we'll post them when I wake up properly. Fair enough, man. Thank you so much. He traded Carlos Pena, dude, which is crazy. Pena was a very good player. Side story with his daughter is completely unnecessary, though. I mean, I get that. I like this. It isn't necessary. I agree with you, but it added a little bit of heart to the character. I thought it was nice to see him like fat. I don't know. I didn't mind it. I liked the heart there. I really young when I first watched Moneyball, I absolutely loved it. When I started to learn more about the 2002 Athletics team and true history, the movie doesn't hold up as well, in my opinion. Really? Okay, and fair enough. I love Brad Pitt in the underrated comedy Cool World. Wow, Cool World. That's a forgotten one, man. Nobody mentions Cool World. Thank you for mentioning that one. That is a rarity. Robin Wright was also in the underrated 90s TV series called The Heights, which had a very hit theme song, How Do You Talk to? Well, dude, Robin Wright's awesome. Favorite Brad Pitt movies? Cutting Class. Oh, yeah, a little slasher flavor. Well, hey, man, this is a horror crowd, right? Shout out to you and everyone in the chat. I've been welcome from day one as sort of a non-horror fan. It feels pretty cool to have my comment appreciated. Dude, man, you're a great supporter of this channel. And, man, everybody in my chats mostly have been just nothing but nice. I'm blessed to have the following I have, man. You guys' support humbles me every week. It really does. Like, even on an episode where I'm not talking about horror movies, we had people here the whole time, man. We had very good support. And, man, I'm telling you, the watch hours, like, the month of June, the past month, was the best month for this channel ever. I think we had like 19.1 thousand minutes watched. That's like 13 plus days. It's a lot of fucking Grande's Graveyard for 4 shows. Like, that's a lot, man. So I appreciate it. I know you guys are watching. It really does humble me. I appreciate the support. It's not lost on me, I promise you. Eric Chavez was a good third baseman for the Oakland A's. Now he's a Mets bench coach. Oh, yeah, that's right. And they do mention Chavi a lot in the movie. That's how I feel about my fantasy football team, man. I'm just trying to get there, too. You want to hear something really sad? I've been in the fantasy football finals 8 times. I've won the fantasy football time 0. 8 fucking times I've been there, Alpha. I've never won it. And I've been to the fantasy baseball finals once, lost that one. I'm 0-9 in fantasy finals. So maybe the 10th will be the charm. Really fun list. Top 10 bowling movies next. Well, number 1 is Lebowski. The dude. There were no shots fired, dude. They said it when Kevin Youkilis, but it was really Jeremy Brown, a catcher who the A's drafted way before he was supposed to be taken. Okay, sounds really good. You'd love it. Great list, man. Now I have a lot of baseball movies to watch. Absolutely. I think you explained it a lot better than I did, Mikey. They really exaggerate a lot of the details. Well, I mean, that's true. They had a Cy Young MVP, but everyone knows Scott Hatteberg is the reason they won. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That I get that criticism. Yeah, but that was the big. I mean, he fucking, if you think, he fucking traded Carlos Pena. That's how determined he was to get Scott Hatteberg in the fucking lineup. That's wild on paper, man. It makes you wonder if they maybe had fucking kept Pena, maybe they fucking would have won a championship, because of course they do lose in the first round of the Minnesota Twins. But I mean, it is what it is. Let's see. No, number 1's Death Kingpin. Well, that's a Fairly Brother movie, and I love it. I love Woody Harrelson. Absolutely love Randy Quaid, and what's the other Vanessa Angel? Oh my God, that was a good-looking woman, man. Alpha also, and I've just out of curiosity, you have an email I could reach you at? Actually, you know what? I do have. I think I'm a friend with you on Facebook, I believe, so I could always reach out to you there. I had a show idea that I wanted to run by you, so I'll reach out there, and maybe not tonight because it's late. But I love all these types of movies. I love horror; it's my second favorite genre. But I just love stories in general, from books to movies to yeah. I would agree, man. Like, and I like to throw these in every now and again as well. Like, I definitely like to throw these in because it seems like people like them when I talk non-horror as well. And this was a good time to do it. Baseball season's in full swing and all this stuff. And I do like a lot of baseball movies, my favorite sport. I did show this. I don't know if JP was here at the beginning, but I showed this really cool Daniel Murphy autographed baseball he got me, which, my favorite Mets. So very cool stuff. So I'm a big fan of it. Top 10 fighting/karate movies. Oh my God, that would be fun. Like Bloodsport. That would be a lot of fun. We could do that. We could totally do that. How's your arm, Scott? You never played first base. We could teach him. Why don't we get one of the fans? I could teach one of them to fucking Ron Washington. Love that. I think this movie's great. I love Moneyball. I just love it. I get it. I get some people could say it's exaggerated, but I don't know, movies. That's the thing, man. I don't mind when movies do shit like that. Like if you entertained me and I enjoyed your film, I think you did your job. Like, I don't know, based on truth, it doesn't matter if it's true or false or whatever the fuck, That's just me though. But yeah, ladies and gents, that is the top 10 baseball movies of all time. I know that there's probably a lot that some people would be like, you left Bull Durham off the list, Grande. You left For the Love of the Game off, Grande. You left 42 off, Grande. Yeah, I did. There's only 10 spots, man. But like at the same time, okay, in theory, if you took some of these movies, okay, like I'm sure the first one, everyone would be like, okay, Fever Pitch shouldn't have been on there. Okay, fine. Take Fever. Okay, but then what? Are you going to take fucking The Sandlot off of it? You're going to take The Bad News Bears off it? Are you going to take fucking Hardball off it? Like, no, I would not take any of those off it. No way, Jose. No goddamn way. Field of Dreams is number 10. Like, would you take Field of Dreams off it? Like, it's a very hard list to make. So I get why people would probably be critical of the list. But if you don't like my list, please tell me your top 10 list. Comment down below. Let me know your top 10. I'm always open to hear other people's thoughts, opinions, top 10s, what have you. I did put a lot of show prep into this. Like I said, there were 22 movies at one point considered to make this top 10. So I worked hard on this, and I hope it worked out. I hope people liked it. It was a lot of fun. Next week on Granny's Graveyard, we're going to have not one, not two, but three wonderful guests. First, we're going to have Dana from the Evil Dead Chick channel. She's going to be coming on for the Horror Roundtable. It'll be Dana's first time on the show. I'm super excited to work with Dana again. I celebrated her 500 subscriber stream with her. Going to be so much fun to actually have her on the Graveyard. I've been looking forward to that for a while. Sean Blue Digital will be making his first Grande's Graveyard appearance. Of course, I think he called it a night. So Sean Blue Digital, any fans of him, he will be on the show next week. We'll be talking all things with horror with him. And finally, Matteo Appendino, who I know has been missing. He's been on vacation with his family. I hope all's well with Matteo. Shout out to you, my friend. And I guess he's a Blue Jays guy. So go Blue Jays just for Matteo. Matteo will be returning to the Graveyard for the first time since January. And the four of us will be talking all things Horror Roundtable number 6, right? 2 topics from each person, 0 regrets. So I'm looking forward to that. To end off July, we're doing a fun horror roundtable. And then I promise you guys, I'll drop the August schedule soon. I have a lot of fun shows planned. I have a triple threat versus episode that's going to be fun, involving 3 separate Dracula films. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I have some other things up my sleeve that I'm planning. So I'm super excited about that. So brief comments before we go. Hit a home run out of the park. Great show as always. Going to have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Mernsy, thank you so much for watching as always. Number 1, Blood Games. Number 2, Major League. Number 3, Sandlot. I love it. I've got to see Blood Games. I've let you all down. It's a big disservice. Mr. Baseball, fair enough. Tom Selleck. Gotta love Tom Selleck. Yay, Mateo. Yeah, Mateo will be back. And we got Sean and Dana, first time Graveyard goers. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Great show, man. Stay frosty. Everyone, thank you so much. Have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. And like I said, comment down below. Let me know your favorite baseball movies. All right. So we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. 2 Sweet Peace. And we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.